PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. Oh, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast. I am your host, PLD, on the PLD Projects Network. And with me, as always, my compatriot, my compadre, my co-pilot, the man with the hair, the man with the growly, screaming, skirting voice, the Dark Side One himself, Matty Gunner, Matty Mourner. How are you doing, my friend?
I love that you're calling me by my Instagram handle. That's a very Gen Z of you. Well done, Paul. You officially crossed into the modern age. Well done.
It's branding, my friend. I get it.
It's branding. I actually had people ask me, like, why have you set up new accounts and stuff? I'm like, because I kind of want to keep my personal life private for reasons that I think we're probably going to get into a little bit later.
Absolutely.
I feel like they're going to tie into a topic that we have to talk about. Something that we got to talk about.
There is something we're going to talk about. It's not going to be comfortable, but it needs to happen, I think, and I'm here for it. Part of it actually will kind of tie into our main topic today, our main topic of conversation. If this is the first time you're here, by the way, give that like, that subscribe. If you're listening on audio, do that whole 5-star rating, review us, let us know. Get people to know. Give us a review. Let us know what we're doing wrong. Let us know what we're doing right. Let us know everything. I love to talk Star Wars. Leave comments. Matty loves to talk Star Wars. It's all cool in the biz.
Except on the internet. I don't talk about Star Wars on the internet. Only here. If you want to, I keep saying this. People ask me, if you want to know my opinion about Star Wars, I have a podcast for it.
There you go. And that's what you need to do. I'm willing to talk whenever. I just don't care. That's me. Like, you want to reach out to me, talk to me, I'll talk about it. I don't care. But today's topic, like what we do in this show, we generally open up with a smattering of the news. We talk about some of the news that's fit to print, so to speak, or at least fit the screen. And then we break into a topic of the day. Sometimes it's a review, especially when the shows are on, they're after shows. Sometimes we're going to do a historical review. Like we're going to start, I believe next week. I'm negotiating on air with my co-pilot here. I think we're going to start the Bad Batch rewatch possibly next week.
Hey, potentially. Me twice. Oh, it was Bad Batch.
Hey, love that. We can do that. We have other topics. You never know. We can always come back and forth, and we'll continue that along in preparation for the hopefully imminent Bad Batch Season 3 trailer. I know Jennifer Corbett's been posting on Twitter, teasing things a little bit, and every response to her.
Still blaming Dave Filoni. I'm going to blame Dave Filoni for not getting the trailer now, especially now that he's the boss man.
It's big cheese.
Hey. Plus, let's face it, that as I keep saying, the reason I don't blame Jennifer Corbett is because there is enough white dudes on the internet yelling at women about things that don't matter. I'm not going to feed into that. So I'm going to yell at the white guy who is in charge of all the shit.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. I do find it funny that everything she tweets, everything that Jennifer Corbett tweets is posted, replied by a fan saying, basically, ha ha ha, that's awesome. Where's the trailer? Yeah. Good job. Where's the trailer? That's everybody wants to know. But I'm here for it. I can't wait.
I've seen it.
I know you have. You who were lucky enough to be at Celebration have seen it. Of course, it might be a different one. It might be different. You never know how they tweak things and everything else.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised they tweak it here and there. You never know. But either way, that's coming soon. So preparation, we decided to go back. We obviously started our very podcast with the Bad Batch Season 2 our reviews. That's what started off alongside Mandalorian Season 3. So we're going to do some historical reviews, some reviews, as it were, and we'll go and watch that. You see what I did there? We'll do Bad Batch Season 1. Will be our first one as we go into the final season of the Bad Batch. But today's topic is going to be an interesting one, I think. George Lucas's Episode 7. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty about that after, again, like we said, after we do our news bits.
We're going into Red Eyes territory.
It'll tie into some things that we have to say. Exactly. So stick around for some possible heat in the kitchen, but we'll get there when we get there. First, let's start with the news of the day, as it were. We had not as much news as last week. Last week, we had an explosion of news. Not to talk about almost everything. It was all news all the time. But let's get into it. first little piece of news coming. D23 has been announced coming August 9th through 11th, and then there will be
my birthday.
There you go. Happy birthday to you early. There'll be one in
Well,
Brazil.
unless we get what we got a couple of years ago, which was nothing.
Fair. That's fair. There's also going to be one in Brazil in November, I believe. And Disney's going to be.
They always do that. They always do the one in Brazil is where they announce all the big shit. Which is funny because anytime I go on a band, like if I see a band's account and a band posts about tour, literally the first 20 odd comments are "Come to Brazil, please come to Brazil, please come to Brazil," and Disney seems to be the only ones that fulfill that request.
There you go. Disney better than some bands, I guess, in that way. A little bit of service there. Disney Plus will be live streaming some of it, although according to the report, again, just so you know, I always bring this up afterwards, but I curate most of my news, if not 95% of the news I get from Star Wars News Next. I really like how they do things. They usually are good at cutting through the chaff and cutting through the reality of the story, whether it's real, fake, rumored, et cetera, et cetera. Their conversation stated that they would be live streaming some of it, but it's unlikely, of course, we're going to get the big Star Wars Marvel announcements live streamed, which I don't get. I think they should do that. I think it'd be better for them to do it. I understand the idea of having it be kind of exclusive, but generally speaking, like it's only exclusive for a little bit anyway, because the announcements get out anyway. So if we're going to have the announcements get out quickly afterwards, let's just see it live streamed at the time.
If I'm flying all the way to Japan, if I'm paying for flights, hotels, tickets, and I'm flying all the way to Japan, you motherfuckers can wait.
Well, but that's fair to a degree. Well, here's my argument about it. The celebration stuff, for example. I think they should live stream the panel per se,
and cut for the footage.
And keep exclusive footage for the exclusive, because that's what you pay for, really. The panels themselves are fun and fine, and but getting them is just kind of a cool thing to watch afterwards. Pay for the exclusive footage. I get that completely. I never got to complain about that. I'll be sad. I wish I could get it, but that is what it is.
Go to Japan, bro. Get some culture.
Yeah, exactly.
I was actually talking to one of my coaches about this because he said he wanted his final fight to be in Japan. I was like, where the fuck would you want to fight in Japan? Fight here at home. And
right.
That was his response to me. He was like, you need some culture. I was just like, okay. So just go to Japan.
I would
Come fight in Japan.
I would love to. If I had the money at that point, I probably would, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
We're a monetized channel now.
But I will, by the time next celebration comes, I definitely have promised that when celebration returns to the States again, I will make my appearance again.
So American.
I know. Hey, I got a wife. I got 3 kids. I got 2 of them in college.
I got dogs.
I got a dog, and now I have 4 cats. I had 3 cats. And now I have a 4th one because my daughter left her cat here. And let me tell you, she's been in heat recently. She said, "You like a kitten?" And I'm like, also I get this big background.
Like a Dianoga.
Yes, it does. I'm like, oh, what the hell's going on over there? But anyway, D23. I think we're going to get some news this year. The where it is, because we've kind of have. At post strikes, you've seen Star Wars kind of getting the ball rolling on some things, making some announcements, putting things into place. I kind of have a feeling it's going to be the time we'll get announcements for probably the next animated series, because Bad Batch will be over. I think we'll get the announcements of maybe a TV show, new TV show potentially, since Mando 4. I feel like Mando 4 is not going to get made now. I kind of feel like that's the way it's going to be, or at least it's going to be put forth way into the future kind of thing potentially. So we might have something in its place. I don't know. I just have feelings about that potentially.
I think it makes way too much money for them to to finish it off.
Well,
way too much money.
Maybe, but the idea is, it has the movie. We have the Dave Filoni movie coming. So where does this slide in? I don't know if they'll wait till after the movie.
True story.
Could be. We'll have to see. But we'll find out for sure. I think that's why I think we'll get a few nice announcements and maybe some dates, some officially solidified. This is coming out on this date. Maybe at that point, hopefully have it all locked in place at that point. We'll find out. I enjoy D23 when they have the big announcements, and hopefully they'll have bigger announcements. So any comment you want to make, or should we move on to the next topic?
No, let's move on. I'm good.
Okay. Next bit of news, final episodes of Young Jedi Adventures Season 1 coming to Disney Plus on February 14th. If you're like me, still haven't gotten through all of them.
I've actually started watching them.
Did you? Okay. I watched a few of them. I liked them.
Not bad. Not bad. Pretty fun.
They're aimed. I mean, they're obviously aimed at a much younger audience, and they do their job well. I think it's not something.
I am nothing if not a man child.
Absolutely. So I think when they air, I probably will catch up with the rest of the ones I've missed. I think I've watched the first like 6 or 7 of them or something to that effect. But most importantly, what I found in this is during the announcement they talked about it, there was a screenshot of the dedication to the Starlight Beacon from the High Republic Adventures book series. Now, we have known for a while that these episodes or this series has taken place during the High Republic, but it hasn't been quite like too connected here and there. It had some moments here and there. But this is a pretty startling place of the High Republic. What are you laughing at? What are you going on over here?
Wes Nubs was on the beacon when it fell.
You're gonna break some people's hearts, that's for sure. He might have been. You never know. And he's not coming back for season 2. Is that what you're saying? Well, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Nubs lives.
But I think this is kind of a fascinating development to have. Like the High Republic has been, it's not as hard to tell how successful a thing has been, but overall it definitely has a very strong vocal set of fans that really love the High Republic Adventures. I've been reading them slowly but surely. I'm still getting through phase 2 at this point, with phase 3 just starting. But I'm excited to see it come to the screen. Obviously the accolades taking place at the end. This is taking place during. We get some big moments. And I find it, I don't know if amusing is the right word, but a kiddie show, as it were, is getting like the first shot of the Starlight Beacon on the screen.
Didn't Bad Batch win an award the other day for a children's show?
I think, yeah, that's like something to that effect. Yeah, it's like that's not a really
That's a children's show?
Right. Young Jedi Adventures, though, that is definitely a children's show.
Yeah, for now.
For now, until Nubs dies, you're saying, basically. I don't think that's going to happen. But so, what are your thoughts on getting the High Republic Adventures, really a connectivity with the Young Jedi Adventures? What are your thoughts?
I'm all for it. It's a new era. It's new storytelling. Obviously, I'm still waiting for my geode rock opera, but
I like how you did that there. That's nice.
I keep saying it's what I want. I want a geode rock opera or a geode dating show. Either of the two, I'm good.
Stuck between a geode and a hard place. I would say the interesting thing about this for me, and I feel like the creators, showrunner, whoever, the people behind Young Jedi Adventures, I think they kind of want to make. I think every Star Wars showrunner, writer wants to kind of stake their claim to something important in the Star Wars universe, and not that making the kids show is unimportant, but I feel like almost like they want to like make their take that claim and kind of draw in some of the usual kiddie viewers. I think that's what they're doing here. Get a creator that goes, okay, we'll show this in our show, and High Republic, like adults and teens or whatever who are reading the High Republic Adventures might go, oh, I got to check that out at least. And so you're getting a little bit of a new audience in there to watch your kiddie, quote unquote, kiddie show to a new degree, because you get to see that connectivity, which is great about Star Wars anyway. And I'm here. I mean, I'm all for it. Obviously, it got me more excited into it. I'm gonna definitely check it out when it comes out for that reason. This is why I want to catch up. But I like the idea of the connectivity. I think that's a great idea. I think the same thing happened with Resistance.
You do like connectivity?
I do. Same thing happened with Resistance. I thought it was at its best or peak when like they brought in the stuff from the speech from The Force Awakens. You get to see what our characters were doing while Hux is speaking out loud, and it's kind of cool to see that.
Definitely the best part.
Absolutely. I actually still have to finish Resistance. I'm not going to lie. I didn't get a chance to finish all the way through, but we'll get there as well. But that's the kind of thing I think. I like the connectivity of bringing in new viewers or whatever. So exciting to me. It's kind of funny how they doled out these episodes. Like season 1 has had like, 3 batches now, I think. Is this the third batch, I want to say? So that's what they're doing. I don't know if they're going to have a season 2. I don't know what's in the state about that potentially, but maybe it's only a season 1. Maybe this will be it. Money talks, I'll have to say. I got a feeling there's always going to be some kind of kids type show. Like I feel like there's like tiers, not like one's better than the other, but like there's sections. I think there'll be a adult type show or a main Star Wars animated show. Like right now it's Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi slides in there. But I think there always is going to be a younger adventure show too, which there should be to try to draw in newer, younger fans. We had Resistance for a bit, which was kind of like the 7 to 10-year-old, 11-year-old kind of age. And this was supposed to be maybe for even younger kids at this point. But it'll be something down there to help advance the new Star Wars fandom.
Young kids in our friendship group.
Exactly. So,
Yeah,
alrighty.
That Nubs Nation bullshit. You guys abandoned Grogu way too quick. You dropped him like he was hot shit as soon as a new cute creature came along.
Right. Yes, soon enough, I guess.
Fake fan. It poses.
All right, there. Before Matty gets too mad about Nubs and Nubs versus Grogu and the steel cage match that's going to happen at some point.
Grogu would whip that ass.
PlayStation 1's Star Wars: The Phantom Menace has come to PlayStation Plus Premium. I am not much of a gamer. I don't know if you games I played. I know Matty, though. I mentioned this news bit before. Like, I could maybe mention this, talk about this. I don't know much to say. Matty said, "Give it to me. Let me talk about it." I said, "Okay." So,
this game, Paul, this game is better than Fallen Order, better than Jedi Survivor, better than Battlefront, better than Jedi Power Battles, better than, dare I say, better than Race of Revenge. This game was the fucking PS1 game. I can't put into words just how much I love this game. It's so glitchy. It's so bad. There's points where you could you go to Mos Eisley and you could just start a brawl as Qui-Gon. You can just start hacking into people with your lightsaber and just killing them. There's parts with Obi-Wan where you can just run into a wall and then just you're stuck there. It's so glitchy. The graphics are so terrible. It just takes me back to. I still remember the cheat code: triangle, circle, left, L1, R2 square, circle, left, L1, select, triangle.
Wow, that's a pretty impressive memory. I mean,
that's the cheat code. That's like the God mode cheat. It takes you to a separate menu. That was how I beat Darth Maul in the last level because I could not get past him as Obi-Wan. Just could not beat him. Kept whooping my ass as it should have been. So I was like, oh fuck. I could not get past the level. And my friend Tom Duffett, shout out Tom Duffett, he gave me the cheat code. He wrote it down on a piece of paper for me, and I was like, oh my god, this is the key. And I did the cheat code, did the unlimited health, and I was just like, fuck now. Health bar went down because I was wondering if it was going to work. Health bar went down, still alive. I was like, oh my god. This is so good. It's such a good game. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it tonight. I think Alex Damon's gonna be streaming it.
I was about to actually bring that up when I was going to end the topic. Alex Damon is definitely streaming it. I know he's very excited about it. Him and Molly have both been very excited about it. So
I hope they haven't patched the cheat code. I really hope they haven't patched the cheat code.
Well, I guess we're going to find out. You'll find out.
Crazy shit. You could walk around Gunga City and everything. It was it was so cool. The graphics were so terrible. It was so bad. It looked so bad. But as a game, it was just I don't know if it's going to hold up. It probably won't. But I'm going to have the time of my life playing it.
Well, report back to me. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it. I'll live vicariously through you.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
There's not many video games I've played in Star Wars. I'm not going to lie. I think y'all know I did Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2, and I loved that. Beyond that, I did a few.
Did you play the arcade games?
The arcade, like the old arcade games, like the vector graphics and stuff. I used to do those.
There's a spot that I frequent quite regularly. I'm not going to say because I don't want to blow up my spot. That I actually took Alex and Molly to when they were in London, and it has that game. It has the old graphics game, and it has the one where you fly the X-wing in the pod.
Oh right, remember that game? Yeah,
it has that in there as well. Then you can switch between the movies, and you can go from the Battle of Yavin 4 to the Battle of Endor or the Battle of Hoth. Yeah.
I was very, very good at that one. I'm not gonna lie, but it was a lot of fun. The other ones I did play, I gotta admit, I have a G-Box recently. I want to play it again. The old Super Nintendo ones. It's like a G-Box, it's like a video game. It's like 5,000 old school.
Oh, it's one of those ones. Okay,
right. Yeah. It has Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, Super Nintendo. I used to love those games. I'm not gonna lie; those were a lot of fun too. So, but yeah, that's my limit. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about Phantom Menace. I don't have any.
I know what I'm gonna say. It's a great game. The only game I would put over it is maybe the Revenge of the Sith game, because that
I did play that. I gotta remember I played that. I love the alternate stuff you could do with that, and you can make Anakin win and stuff, and that was kind of cool to see those.
And then you unlocked all the characters, so you could have
Right.
it like Street Fighter, like Tekken, and you could put like Count Dooku up against Mace Windu, and
Right.
Yoda up against Anakin, and I was just like, yeah, this is cool.
Sick. This is sick. So yeah, I like that one a lot. I loved it. That so. All right, moving on. We got a little bit of a dumb moment, but I'm glad we got clarification of. News basically is that the Mandalorian and Grogu, when they announced that film, they said that Jon Favreau was directing. They said that Dave Filoni was producing alongside Kathleen Kennedy, alongside Jon Favreau himself. But a lot of people had noted that there was never any talk about who was actually going to be writing the film. I think it was pretty self-explanatory.
Before you say anything, let me guess. Is it Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau?
You are correct, sir. You are correct, sir.
God, who could have possibly picked that out?
Well, I mean, especially because we knew that John and Dave had written The Mandalorian season 4, or had written, he had said they'd written the scripts, and obviously I think some of that has been pulled apart and pushed together and yada, yada, yada. But obviously it made much sense. No one's surprised by this. But it is good to get clarification. Sometimes like you just want to keep things out there. You want to like, okay, this is definitively what's happening. Great. Now I know. Dave Filoni obviously having a lot to do, which is partially my concern. Like if I have concern about things, that Dave Filoni now has a lot to do. He's co-writing the movie. He's obviously preparing Ahsoka season 2. He's got his own movie he's prepping for, and as far as that, we don't even know what else he's got going on behind the scenes as far as being the head now. So there's a slight concern about that. I have all the faith in the world in the man in the hat, but that he is taking on a lot, and some of it's very new to him. So it can be interesting to see. Hopefully, the growing pains won't be too much. Hopefully, Favreau can help him transition. I'm hoping that the same writing team is actually going to be writing Dave's movie. I think Dave could use some help writing wise. I think more and more Dave is going to be a lot like his mentor in George Lucas, and that he's a great storyteller, but he could use some assistance with the.
I think the dialogue is. I think dialogue's his main point. I think in terms of like story writing, I think he's got that down.
He's a great storyteller. He's like George. He's a great storyteller. He just needs help with some of the details sometimes fleshing it out for a bigger part of the thing. That's why he's had help back in the day when he had Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff. He always had some help fleshing out some of the stuff. He'd write like the big moments. He'd write the opening. He'd write the big finale sequence and everything else. But there'd be a lot of stuff in between that helped flesh it out, so to speak. And I think that's where he could use some of the assistants. And I think that's where
here's why I think he'll do better, right? He has to condense that now. He doesn't have all that time. Now he has to condense it. You have 2.5 hours.
Right.
Give us your moments.
Absolutely. I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping that's the case indeed. But it'd be interesting. I do hope that John, I kind of hope that John is helping him out though too. Just I think it feels like John is very good at what he does as well. So having that can only help him shape.
He has a very good track record when it comes to movies about guys in metal suits.
That's for damn sure. So
he did do Iron Man 3, right?
He did Iron Man 2. He didn't do Iron Man 3.
Oh, Iron Man 2 is the best one out of the trilogy. So yeah.
I would disagree.
What if we get Mickey Rourke in Star Wars? What if we get Mickey Rourke in this movie and he's Bud?
Boyd. Where's my Boyd? Where's my Fuego? Where's my Minoc? I don't know. I'm here for it.
Yep.
I'm here for it. All right, let's move on to our next piece of news. Again, small piece of news, but perhaps one that will be a building block for something. We mentioned before that Godzilla Menace 1 director Takashi Yamazaki really had loved Star Wars. In an interview, he said he would love to do a Star Wars film, and hopefully the Lucasfilm would reach out to him someday. Well, it's not a movie or anything yet or anything like that. But Lucasfilm did reach out to him, and with the help of the Man in the Hat, Dave Filoni, as alongside Lucasfilm Senior Pipeline Technical Director Kenneth Ibrahim. I have no idea what that is. I don't know what Senior Pipeline Technical Director is. Either way, Kenneth and
Pipeline is kind of like, in technology terms, it's kind of about the deployment, the automation, making sure everything runs smoothly.
Okay. That makes sense then. Okay. Kenneth and Dave arranged a screening of Godzilla Minus One at Lucasfilm. Now, for me, is that just him saying, "Oh, you love Star Wars? Hey, I love your movie. Let's just watch it together." Or is it a case of, "Oh, I love your movie. Come, we'll watch it, and then maybe we'll have a conversation." Maybe I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much ahead about that. It might just be a case of, yeah, let's celebrate each other. Let's love it. But if he's there in Lucasfilm, the guy loves Star Wars. He's a filmmaker. I gotta think there's been some kind of conversation afterwards. Like, what do you think? Do you want to pitch us something? We have something in mind. I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's good. I think it's good news either way.
I'm gonna burst your bubble.
Okay.
If there's one thing I have learned from Hideo Kojima, Hideo Kojima takes pictures of everyone that comes to visit him. Everyone. Literally, all his Instagram feed is what movies he's watching that day and what celeb came by the Kojima production office that day. It could be Timothy Chalamet, it could be Jordan Peele, it could be who was in there? Who did he take a picture with the other day? Elijah Wood was in there. And everyone always gets so hyped. It's like, oh my God, Timothy Chalamet is going to be in the next Kojima game. This is going to be incredible. It doesn't, and it never happens. It never happens. Right. Okay. I fully believe that this was just like, look, this movie's not going to be in theaters for much longer. Let's get the guy in here and let's watch it. Let's watch it as a company.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean,
I would love for them to do something together, but I would rather have Godzilla -2.
Well, that unfortunately, I'll slide off the Godzilla thing for a bit. I know that Toho Studios and stuff has always had struggles with following up things very quickly, and they tend to take an anti-American way. Like Americans are like, let's get a movie back. Oh my God, it made that much money. Get it in production now. Get a sequel production yesterday. Even if it's great, like Shin Godzilla had a great response in Japan, and it took them until now to get another movie made. So they don't tend to jump on sequels at that point. So I don't know what to say.
I'm not jumping on it. Take your time. Do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Just give me. Especially with how that movie ended. Especially with how that movie ended.
Hey, I hope they do follow it up.
Keep Kong the fuck away from that movie. Kong, Mothra, all of it. Just
don't worry, Kong get his ass whooped in the next Godzilla Kong. Just like he did the first time. Just like he did the first time. It's okay. I don't need therapy over that.
There's a reason Godzilla is asking him for help in this new movie, right?
We don't know that yet. We don't know that yet, but we'll see. Asking for help. You don't see that in the trailer. You can see that either. They're working together. Maybe we'll find out. That's all right.
They're literally running alongside each other.
Maybe Kong asked him for help.
No, Godzilla goes to him, bro. It's in the trailer.
How do you know that's? You don't know when that is in the movie. You don't see everything in the trailer. Sometimes there's misdirection. You don't know yet.
What do you mean you don't see the whole movie in the trailer? Have you watched movie trailers for the last 5 years?
That's true. But either way, I'll just leave it up. Going back to the original part of the story, is like I understand where you're coming from, and I don't. There's a lot of stuff I would say there's a lot of hoops that have to be jumped through before anything would happen anyway. Absolutely, but I do think, in my mind, they screened it together. Yamazaki's a director. He loves Star Wars. He wanted to do a Star Wars. Dave Filoni respects the culture, respects everything else. I wouldn't be surprised if they at least said, "Hey, it would be cool to work together someday. Maybe someday it'll happen." And that's the groundwork is laid for a potential something down the line. If it never happens, it never happens. A lot of things don't happen at Lucasfilm.
Stay away, bro. Yamazaki, stay away.
You don't want one then. You don't want one then.
Not from him, no.
Really?
Godzilla -1 was too damn good. Too damn good. Like, the Star Wars fandom doesn't deserve that guy.
I'm a Star Wars fan. I deserve it.
Do you deserve it, or do you really deserve it, or do you just want it?
So. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
You feel you've earned it?
I feel I've earned it. Maybe. All right, well, we'll see.
He's too pure.
And we'll see what happens in the next couple of years. Or maybe we'll see at a next celebration. Maybe we'll get that. You know what? Celebration in Japan would be a great place to announce the Yamazaki Star Wars film.
Hideo Kojima is going to be there because the Kojima production office is literally a 10-minute drive away from where the thing is. If I get my dream, Hideo Kojima does a Star Wars project, oh my God. This would be like an hour-long podcast of me just.
I'll just put you front and center. You can have the stage.
it would be holy Kojima for a whole fucking episode.
All right. Next, a bit of news there. We got Diego Luna had an interview and announced he has 7 days left of filming Andor season
When was
2.
this
Only
interview?
7. It was he was producing. Let me see exactly where it was. I think it was
When?
for
When?
recent. It was very recently. It was
Okay, so he's probably got like 2 or 3 left.
yeah, like
He
I
might
think
be
he
done.
was. Yeah, he might be. Variety asked him. He just said, "I have 7 days. Tomorrow, I'm flying back, and we are finishing this. This happened on this. This article is from the 16th, so I'm assuming it was recent. So he probably is heading
Okay,
back now. He might be filming it now. Um,
maybe done.
Interesting development that we only have 7 days left because we know that Andor season 2 is, as of now, not on the docket for this year. Um, but I would think that something like that would indicate that Andor season 2 might be very early 2025. It might be the first thing out of the gate in 2025. Because you got to figure if it's January now, finishes shooting by the end of January, giving it a whole year pretty much to do all the any reshoots or any kind of
I thought these were the
effects, everything
reshoots.
else. I think these are partial reshoots. I'm not entirely sure. I think there was
I'm pretty
like,
sure these are the reshoots.
if that's it, then if that's really it, then effects something else don't take that. I don't think it would take that long. So I think it has to be
And they were
planned to really
probably,
come out.
they may have been working like, were the VFX guys on strike at the same time as yet? I don't think they were.
They weren't, but I don't know.
Might have been editing it during the strikes, like going
They
as they
could
were
have.
going.
They could have. So I mean, I
Hmm,
don't know.
I don't know.
So will it happen this year? I mean, I don't think it'll happen this year. I think it's on this. I think the docket will probably stay the same.
It's
But
be
that leads me to
2025. It ain't
believe,
gonna be this year.
yeah, it'll be January, February 2025. That's my game. But that means that's it's coming. And Diego seems happy with it and happy that it has an ending. He also was asked whether he thinks he would be in a Star Wars project again, and he kind of was like, probably not, because like he's always be part of the
I'm
family.
dead,
But
bro.
I'm dead, bro, pretty much
I'm
as far
dead.
as Andor goes. And I have a feeling we're not going to get much more from Andor at this point, at least visually. I believe we might see his character in a book somewhere or something like that potentially. But I think this is going to be it for him. Alrighty. Next up, and finally, we have two more bits of news we're going to discuss. But I got to say, I want to preface this. We have 2 bits of news to discuss. We're going to transfer into our main topic, but all of it kind of has an underling of stuff I want to kind of get off my chest a little bit, as it
You
were.
didn't pre-warn me about this.
I kind of did. This is what we're talking about, the whole thing.
Okay.
So,
Go on.
fandom as a whole, fandom, I love is always a place of discussion. Now, the thing about the fandoms is, I really feel like we need to take a step back and not have everything be along party lines, as it were. I feel like a lot of the time it was developed, and I'm not saying. And there's definitely a lot of faults on what I would call the right side of the states or so. People who have been very critical of Disney and probably unfairly critical of Disney for various reasons. Definitely come out looking sexist, definitely come out looking racist, definitely looking everything else. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. And the other side of the fence, the very pro Star Wars movement, the very pro feminist movement, and everything else going on, which is we should be. I agree with that. Sometimes gets almost too reactionary to the point of we end up having this piece of news where a news piece drops or a rumor drops, and automatically both party lines they take it. They take this is one side, this is the other. We are pro this, we are anti this, or vice versa. We are pro this, we are anti this, and it doesn't leave a lot of room for any kind of discussion. And I feel like that hurts more than it helps. I think we should all be open to ideas, and we should all be open to the possibility that stories could be told that maybe don't necessarily interest you, but they're not against you. The story itself is not against you. The asshole who is tweaking things and taking things away, they're probably against you. But don't let that ruin the potential of something exciting, the potential of something new, and don't let it color your view so much that you take every bit of news and you're dissecting it with these red eyes, blue eyes of like, well, I have to get my side out there. I have to get my piece across. I have to anger up and force my side. No, take things easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. Does not have a heart attack.
Take it easy.
Take it easy. Chill out a little bit on both. I mean, that's on both sides. There's things that you don't chill out about. You don't chill out about sexism. You don't chill out about racism. You don't chill out about gatekeeping or knocking people down. I get that. But the story itself, you got to take each piece of news, look at it from, try to wipe that slate off your eyes, clean the glasses off a little bit, look at it and take it as what it could mean to you, what it could possibly mean, and look at everything from what positive can happen out of this, what good can come out of this, instead of going, I feel like we're all this reactionary, like something comes out, and we're like, fuck, what does this mean for them? Oh, this means that. And you look at it from the negative side of things, and that's never going to be healthy for any fandom, and it's going to make it worse, I think. So that's my quick overall rant before we get into the next couple pieces of news or topics, rather. Do you have any comment to that first before we go on?
Tag me in. Some of y'all need to chill the fuck out. Paul's a good cop. Now Daddy's in the room to knock some sense in you lot. I heard an interview with a bunch of Andrew Tate wannabe cretins talking about how Star Wars is a guy's thing, Star Wars is a child's thing. I don't agree with the Star Wars is a guy's thing.
Neither do I.
Some of you are acting like fucking children. You really are. Like jumping on people for just doing their job, reporting something, and you jump down their throats when it's not even their words. They're just being like, I run a Star Wars website that reports the news. I've heard a rumor. I'm going to report this rumor. I'm going to make it very clear that this rumor may not even be true. It's just something I've heard.
Right.
For you to jump and just start tearing at that person for reporting on something that they've heard. I thought you were supposed to be, and this is not me singling anyone out. This is a lot of people that I saw. And this is why I don't talk about Star Wars online anymore. If you want my opinion, either listen to my podcast or ask me directly, and I'll tell you. But it's fandom culture is becoming one of the most toxic things about this generation. There was a story came out in the music world this week. There is a band called Sleep Token, very popular band, like very popular overnight. They've been around for ages, but they boomed up recently, and it's because they're part of their gimmick is they wear these masks. They're part of this cult. They have this anonymity. I mean, I know who they are. It's a wide known secret. You can just Google and know who they are. Someone took it upon themselves to buy these band members' birth certificates.
Ooh.
And then they just wipe their social media clean. And this is a band that just started playing arenas recently, and now they've wiped their social media clean, and they've put nothing lasts forever in each of their thing because people can't respect people's boundaries anymore.
No.
And I'm going to say this one time. You do not own this art. You can enjoy it. You can even relate to it. Mm-hmm. But it does not belong to you unless you had a hand in creating the artwork, in promoting the artwork, publishing the artwork, be it music, a movie, a TV show, or a book. It does not belong to you. Do you know who Mourner belongs to? Belongs to me. Do you know who POD Projects belongs to? Belongs to Paul. Does not belong to you. You have absolutely no right to tear at people for the artwork they create just because you feel a connection to it. We talk often about like parasocial relationships that people have online, right? Mm-hmm. The same could be said for art and media. Like, just because we have these strong connections. I love Star Wars. I fucking love this stuff, man. I love talking to you about this week in, week out. I love going to Celebration. I love hanging out with friends and talking about Star Wars. I love it. Mm-hmm. But I don't own it. Right. I'm not going to be like, and it's funny because I was even talking to Justin Sunfield, who's the LCO of the 501st, about this. I was like, people who say my Star Wars is not my Star Wars, or is like my Star. This isn't yours. You do not have a say in what happens, and this is on both sides. If they want to put, and we're going to get into it, if someone wants to put the Rey movie on hold, that's their prerogative. We have no say. You have no hold over any of this art. Now, again, I don't even have to stay where I stand on these issues that the people on the right of these conversations, on the, let's say, political right of these conversations. Like, if you know me, you know where I stand on those things. You know where I stand on these people. I talk about them every other fucking week on this show, what I think of these people. But to jump down someone's throat so quickly, just for doing what they do week in, week out, you're acting like them.
Yes.
You're no better. You're acting no better. And maybe it is just because we've reached this point now where, like, Lucasfilm have done this so many times. They bring out these projects and then they're like, we're putting it on an indefinite. It's like when a band says they're on an indefinite hiatus. It's just like, oh, fucking hell, really? You really going to do this? And to be fair, they have done it a few times now.
100%.
So maybe it is getting to a point where we're just like, typical fucking Lucasfilm. But what I'm saying is, whether someone is right or wrong, you don't own this art. You don't own Star Wars. You don't own Marvel, DC, any of it. So why are you attacking people online over it?
Right.
If it doesn't directly, like, don't make this your personality. Don't make this your life.
Right.
There's some people that I'm just like to go in with the band. Like, I saw comments that were like, "Oh, seeing Sleep Token erase their social media post made me physically ill." You need fucking help. If you rely on a fandom that much, that it is your entire life and it is your only thing. I'm talking beyond go out and touch grass. I'm talking seek help, because it is not healthy. And the way, and I'll move on after this. The way some people on both sides speak to each other, and we had this when we did the State of the Fandom thing.
Yeah.
The art of conversation is dead.
Absolutely.
And it's because people are this whole tribalistic nature. I don't agree with a lot of people, but if we're having a discussion, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to give you a platform and say, go ahead, say what you want to say. And then I hope you will give me the respect to rebut what you said. But it's just like,
the story has become about the discourse. That's the problem. Instead of being a fandom, instead of being about the art, instead of being about the movies, the TV, the comics, whatever, it's all about something drops, a news bit drops, and instead of talking about the news, it's all about the discourse of what does that mean for my side? What does that mean for my side? And it just becomes tiring. The point of, like, I don't even want to look at the discourse anymore. I just kind of like, I get like tired. I'm like, oh, what the fuck are they going to say about this? What's this going to be? And I just want to sit there and celebrate the fact I got a new Star Wars movie coming out now, potentially. Awesome. Is it potentially not going to happen? Maybe. But you know what? I'm going to talk about the speculation. I'm going to be excited to feel it. And then, like, when something happens, great. And finally gets on my screen, great. Awesome. Let's see what happens. And not let Joe Schmo on your side, like, tell me not to. I will guarantee you on PLD projects. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I know I'm pretty sure I can speak for Matty too. We will always give you our honest opinion on things. We'll give you, we're mostly positive people about Star Wars. That's not going to change, I don't think. I think mostly we look for the good things. Absolutely. We will call out things we will say when we don't like something. But you're never going to see us be sexist. You're never going to see us be racist, at least any way, shape, or form. You're never going to see us gatekeep any way, shape, or form. And that's on both sides. If people love the expanded universe, great. Come talk to me about it. I love the expanded universe. People want to talk about the sequel trilogy? Great. I love talking about the sequel trilogy. I love thinking about that. I love Star Wars. That's just what there is to it. Whether it's some people like have put up these ground marks. Like sequel trilogy fans are this, Darth Revan fans and EU fans are this, and it's like, no, I love it all. I love it all. So if you want to talk anything with me, I'm here for it. If you want to have that kind of, you want that in your life, we're a good place to be. And that's not trying to pat myself on the back or pat myself on the back. I just want it out there that I will talk about things I want to talk about, and it'll always be honest. I might be too positive for some people. I know there's some people out there who go, oh, you love everything. You're right. I probably do love everything, because to be honest with you, if I get to go to the galaxy far, far away, I treat it's like pizza. Even bad pizza is still fucking pizza. I still get to have pizza.
Unless it comes from Papa John's.
Unless there's pineapple put on it, then I'll say fuck you.
Unless it comes from Papa John's.
Or Papa John's. But I still get to go to the galaxy far, far away and spend some time there. I'll like some products a hell of a lot more than others. I don't care about the Young Jedi Adventures as much as some other people. It is what it is. I still like going there. I'm not going to say anything negative about it necessarily. Why choose to point out the negative unless you're doing it in a critical fashion? Go, well, this didn't work for me. This just didn't work for me because of this. You'll hear from me. So, I mean,
I'm just saying is, calm down. Not everything's a fight. Not everything has to be a battle. Not everything has to be an argument. Sometimes people can just disagree. Sometimes people can just not like each other. Hell, there's that one YouTuber that I just don't like, and he probably just doesn't like me. You can not like something. It's okay to not like something.
I agree.
It's fine. It's okay to disagree. Me and Paul disagree on a lot of things.
Yeah, we definitely do.
I still do a fucking show with him every week.
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, we do. And that's not, again, I will say quickly, that does not mean I am saying open your eyes or open your hearts to anybody who's being gatekeepery towards you or being sexist or racist or anything like that towards you. If that's the way you feel someone is, if that's what's happening and that's how you feel, then that's how you feel, and block them out. Because just block out the negativity in your life, and hopefully the people will eventually learn. I mean, will they? Probably not, but anything can happen. If I learned anything from Star Wars all my life, is that anything can happen. And Star Wars is a story of redemption. Hopefully someday they will learn from their mistakes, and we will see what happens from there. So, All right, let's get into these. Now, I say all this stuff because a couple of these news bits I have, the last two news bits before we get into episode 7, George Lucas's episode 7, kind of relate to that kind of thing. And one specifically, the next piece of news is one thing you were talking about. 2 days ago, Bespin Bulletin put out a news article or whatever, basically stating that according to a report that they had read or whatever from World of Real, that the untitled Rey Skywalker movie led by Daisy Ridley was having issues in the creative process, and due to these issues, the writer of the film, Stephen Knight, might be on the verge of exiting, and the film itself has suffered an indefinite delay. They clarify in these comments that World of Real is an outlet he has followed for a long time, and that they aren't known for breaking any kind of big blockbuster franchise like Star Wars or Marvel, that they have gotten a lot of right with some smaller movies, which is why he followed their work. And so for this reason, the report shouldn't be written off, but that it is potentially, this is what they had heard and were reporting. Now, I have spoken to a friend of mine, I don't want to name them because I don't know if they want it out there, that they basically said that World of Real was a very believable source, that they had gotten a lot of stuff wrong. Hey, I don't know. I've never followed them either way, so I can't make that clear. But if this person says World of Real is full of shit, and that's fine, that's what their experiences are. If Bespin Bulletin has their own experience, they have said that some of the smaller stuff they've gotten right. Either way, they put it out there. And I will say, that's what you said. Everybody kind of jumped on this as if they were saying, oh, the Rey movie is canceled. Oh, their Bespin Bulletin or whoever is saying this because they want the Rey movie canceled and it's going to fuel the right side of hate Rey and stuff like that. And it's like, but it's everybody's jumping on either side. And the case is, if you look at the actual news article, the post, it never says anything definitive. All it said was that the report is they were having potential issues. The writer was delayed and the writer could leave, and it was indefinitely delayed. Now, indefinitely delayed, some people need I feel like some people need a definition for it. Indefinitely delayed just means that it was delayed somehow and it wasn't sure how long it was going to be delayed. That could be a 2-week delay. It could be a month delay. It just means it hadn't been decided how long it was delayed for.
It's in the title, indefinite. It hasn't been defined how long it's going to be delayed for.
Exactly. Now, I know, generally speaking, in the parlance, people say indefinitely delayed. It means that, wow, they have no idea, so it's got to be a long way off. But that's not exactly necessarily what it means. Now, before I have you comment, before we go into it further, let's jump down to the news that the very next day, or even later on that day, there was a very big opposing report from
Gizmodo,
Gizmodo,
right?
yes, Gizmodo, German Lucy, who's very he's a great source, generally speaking, everything else.
I think like 4.2 million followers or something like that.
Right. He is definitely a source to be trusted. Went to his source, Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm said that the report was inaccurate. The film is denying the film has suffered a delay, and that Stephen Knight is still part of the writing process, with Lucasfilm awaiting his latest draft. Now, to me, I don't know about you, but from everything I read from both sides, it didn't seem like there was actually that big a difference in the story when you consider that up until a week ago or whatever, it was kind of like not official, but kind of put out there that the Rey movie was going to be the first one that was going to come out. And everybody was targeting May 2026 as the Rey movie would return for Star Wars in the big screen, and that was going to be the one to do it. All of a sudden, a couple days ago or whatever, we had the announcement of Mandalorian Grogu was leading the slate. So right there, that would suggest that unless this thing was developed before, unless we know there's stuff that we don't know about, that the Rey movie was delayed and hasn't decided yet. Or so, because Mandalorian and Grogu are the first ones out of the gate now. So that part aside, it seems to be about the idea of Stephen Knight. We know Stephen Knight's working on his Peaky Blinders movie. I know you're excited about that. Exactly. So it seems like there's a lot of speculation. Like, well, he's working on that, so he must be off of Star Wars.
Although,
not necessarily.
Although Cillian Murphy has come out multiple times and said he doesn't know what's going on with that Peaky Blinders movie. He doesn't know if he doesn't even know if they're even doing it. So if the lead actor is let's face it, he's probably going to win an Oscar. So he's going to be fair. He's going to be very in demand.
Right. Absolutely.
If even he doesn't know if they're going to be doing it, I imagine this is probably going to be Stephen Knight's main focus in a minute. And let's not forget, they were talking about jumping into production in April.
Yeah, they were. Who knows? It's hard to say. So to me, though, either way, people jumped over Bespin Bolton for reporting it, and I feel like that was unfair to Bespin because, quite frankly, all he did was say this is what the rumor said. He even clarified. He went so far as to say, World Revealed did this. They don't talk about Star Wars or Marvel much, so take that with a grain of salt. It is. He very fairly went, next day, Gizmodo has refuted this, saying their sources, here it is. I don't think there's an issue with that. I think there's no issue with that at all. I mean, I like buying Bespin. He's reporting a rumor. It is what it is. That's the name of the game. That's why the name of the game of Scoops is just shitty. Like the scooping game is just shitty nowadays. It's all about who can get what first. And if somebody dares to be wrong or dares to have a wrong scoop, oh my God forbid. Like, as long as you're being honest about everything you've heard and everything else, I don't think there's an issue with it. And so I hope people will learn to not jump on things. I doubt it because that's what they do. But take things with a grain of salt, get things clarified, and come back and we'll be fine. I think it's probably what happened at this point. I think Stephen Knight turned in a draft. I think Lucasfilm wants him to have another go around on it to make sure it fits well. We have the idea we'll have the Mando in place for that gives Stephen Knight more time to work on it a little sliding of the scales a little bit. And that's it. That doesn't mean that's canceled. That doesn't mean anything else. It just means that we're moving things around a little bit to make sure we get the best of both worlds. I don't see what the problem is. But I unfortunately am in the minority. It seems like.
I think you hit it on the nail on the head. People getting overly protective of this because it is the Rey film.
Yeah. It is obviously it's the most polarizing film. We had the 3 films that were announced before Mando and Grogu. The 3 ones announced were a James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi. Everybody seems to be mostly on board with. I know some people didn't like Dial of Destiny, so they're not exactly sold on James Mangold, but goddamn James Mangold. First of all, Dial of Destiny, you're wrong on. It's a great film. And second of all, he did Logan. He did a bunch of different movies that have been very good. But people like the time frame. I think everybody seems to like the idea of going back that far. Kind of cool, untouched ground. Dave Filoni is kind of mostly, for the most part, universally enjoyed, and they think that that's a good thing for everybody. The Rey movie is very polarizing, given especially the Rise of Skywalker's divisiveness and Last Jedi's divisiveness. That's always going to be the most divisive one. So, of course, it's going to be that way. The other further report from that, best one put out there today, is that the new idea is that potentially it's going to be December of 2026 was the hinted at date, which would still make sense. Because if you remember, the most recent thing we ever had from Disney was the untitled Star Wars film, May of 2026, December of 2026, and December of 2017. It looks like that might still be the case. And it feels like that, okay, the Rey movie might have been May. And then it was going to be potentially a different, like maybe the Mandoverse movie, December of 2026, and then the Dawn of the Jedi 2027. I wouldn't be surprised if they just slid the new Mando movie in May of 2026, push Rey back to December of 2026, push the Mandoverse movie, Dave Filoni's Mandoverse movie, back to 2027 to allow Ahsoka season 2, et cetera, et cetera. And then I think that James Mangold's movie has been just pushed back a little bit even further now. Maybe that'll be May of 2028 now instead. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a move. I think it just makes sense after the strikes. They've reshuffled some things, and this is what we're doing. People get a little on edge about these things.
For me, it's even less of a thing because I don't give a shit about dates. Just get it in front of my eyes. Like dates are guys. I'm gonna break this. This is breaking news to you guys. The dates, they aren't for you. They're for the shareholders.
Right.
So chill. Just
exactly.
I agree. When it comes. If we don't get this movie, we don't get this movie. If we don't get that TV show, we don't get that TV show. It's okay.
I agree.
Chill.
The last I'll say about this is part of the article. Best Friend did quote Jeff Snyder from the Hot and Mike show. And Jeff Snyder had been pretty reliable as far as things go. He was actually one of the first I had read announcing that Mando is potentially being a movie. He actually initially said that Rey was the first one out of the gate also, that May 2026. That was at that time. He has come out saying that what he thinks is that December 2026 is now the Rey date. He said something about see you in December 2026.
Yeah.
And so it seems like that's exactly what the case is in this way. To reform, things change, though. Sometimes things do change. But all right.
A great man once said, "Don't fight change. Find your place in change."
That's a great comment. It's a great quote. All right, then the last bit of this is not necessarily news. There's no news article on Star Wars Net, News Net, or anything like that. But there was a rumor going around, and I think honestly, I don't remember if this is true enough. That came across from a Lego set or something. That's what sparked it, or something about a potential Star Wars What If show.
Do you know who the worst leakers are? It's Star Wars Lego.
That's true.
That is very true. Shit they have spoiled.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong in that case. That's why I think people are talking about it.
It's not hard to not update a website before something comes out. You just don't put it on the website.
I know. I don't know necessarily what it is. I honestly should have probably bad PLD. I should have gone.
Is Jeff Snyder running the Lego Star Wars website? Does he put the pre-orders up?
That's a good question. I'll check him with Jeff, see what he says about that. But either way, regardless, that's not even the big news to me. The big idea, the big speculation of it is, does that mean we're going to get a Star Wars whatever? I don't know. We have no idea if that's going to happen, but that has been put forth as a rumor idea.
You like What If, huh?
Marvel has. I like What If. I know Marvel has been a What If. Marvel has had varying success with What If. Some people like it, some people don't. A lot of people said they enjoyed season 2. I watched season 2. I thought they were pretty cool. Now, Star Wars has always had its own What If. The comics had the Star Wars Infinities comics, so it's been around forever. This is not anything new. So, but in comparison, what I really wanted to talk about as far as that goes is that when that news came out, again, I kind of got this side taking each other. It seems like one side was excited about it potentially, but then there's a lot of people who I like and respect were like anti it. And it seemed like there was 4 reasons that people were anti it.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where I was kind of, I was like, annoyed is not the right word, but kind of like, really? Don't let that control your destiny. Don't let your anger and hate control your destiny. Okay, number 1, discourse. I get some of that. Obviously, there's going to be people on the certain side of things who hate Rey, who hate the sequel trilogy, etc. Oh, this is where I can get what I really wanted. What if there was no Rey? What if Luke Skywalker led this? What if Mary Jade came? They're thinking everything that they didn't get, that a lot of it's sexist area, that they'll get it in what if form, so they're excited to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, what I say to that, fuck them. Fuck them. I don't care. Like, I don't care what their discourse says. I don't want it to
I
get
love how
away.
you're being the aggressive one this week, and I'm the one that's like really passive.
You rubbed off on me a little bit. I guess I must be.
I'm the one telling people to chill out, and you're the one that's getting fired up. This is a nice change in dynamic.
I don't care. Like, to be honest with you, I think what people have not realized is the fact that there could be a lot of what if stories that might just piss off the side that you think love it. Like, for example, one of the what if stories I could think of that would be most interesting would be what if Leia was the chosen one? What if Leia was instead of Luke, it was Leia? Oh my God, women in Star Wars, I would lose their mind, and you would kind of love that story. So like, that's a story that potentially there. My main thing is I don't want Lucasfilm. And I don't know if they do or not. I feel like sometimes they are taking some of the wrong ways to do things sometimes.
No.
I feel like I don't want them to let the discourse get in the way of an interesting or fun story. I don't want to look at discourse and say, oh, I can't do this because this side's going to react this way. No, fuck it. You put out your art. You put out what you want to talk about, what the thing you want to make, and let the discourse fall as it lies. Do the show. Do the show. Do what you want to do. Do the movie.
Two shows in the top 10 viewed last year.
Yeah.
And those were 2 shows that people said were failing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Number 2, the second argument I read against it. Well, we already have Visions as non-canon material, and part of it was, and you didn't watch that. First of all, fuck you. I did watch it, and I loved it. I love Vision Season 1. I love Vision Season 2. I can't wait for Vision Season 3. Sure. That doesn't stop a what if from being made. Having fun with it. I could see Vision Season 3 and a what if happening at the same. Like, they both can exist. You could have non-canon stuff exist alongside canon and be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, so many canon stories to tell. So why are we wasting our time on a what if situation on a non-canon thing? Once again, this is non-either or thing. This doesn't have to be either or. You can have a what if story and still, it's not going to take away from anything else. You're still getting your Ahsoka, you're still getting your Skeleton Crew, you're still getting your Rey movie, you're still getting your Dawn of the Jedi movie. Like, it's just another bit of canon or a non-canon. It's another bit of storytelling. It doesn't change anything. So stop acting like it's an either or. 4. This is one thing you said to me at one point, and I respect it. But they said, I hated or didn't like Marvel's What If. Okay. I'll finish, and then you can choke on that.
Yeah.
My comment back is, okay, and different creatives, different universe, different stories. You may still hate it, you may still not. You may love it, you may hate it. So when it comes out, if Star Wars What If comes out, you may not like it. That's okay. I say shrug, let's find out. That doesn't stop anything. If you don't like the concept, I get it. I'm not saying you have to love the concept. If I make a what if, or Lucasfilm makes a what if show, and you tell me as a Star Wars fan, I'm really not interested in the concept, I'm probably not going to watch it. I get it, but let's not get this like big hatred of we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't want this. I want it. I'd love to see it. I think it'd be very interesting to see some of the stuff going on.
I love the people that are like the one. First off, I didn't hate, and this is even the comics. I didn't hate What If. It's just like the concept to me just doesn't appeal to me. I don't care for it. It's not. I don't like it. I don't hate it. I don't like it. I don't not like it. I'm just like, you have these stories that are so broad and so vast for these different characters and all these different themes. I just don't feel like a What If has like they're not expanded enough to really like take those stories in and like develop upon them. They're very much all like little one shots here and there. They're like with this character, what if it? I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but haven't we got a certain point of view for stuff like that?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And I'm just like, I don't like it. I don't not like it. They just have even like in the Marvel comics. They just never something that I thought, that really seems cool. I'm gonna watch that, or I'm gonna read that. I'm just like,
Right.
if it comes across me, I'll watch it. If I don't, I don't. I don't care. I've got the main story in front of me. Cool.
Absolutely.
Someone's got a different take on the story. Good for them.
Absolutely.
I'm not like craving to watch it, if it makes sense. But if you and me were in the same room and you were like, I want to watch Star Wars, what if? I'd be like, cool, put it on. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it.
And quite frankly, we would review it.
Yeah,
we'd
probably
watch
would.
it and we'd review it. Absolutely.
And my final thing is to the people that say we never asked for this. Listen, and this goes to the people that are saying we never asked for Top Gun 3. Listen to me very carefully. I never asked for sex, but I got it, and it was fucking great. Did I ask for it? No. Did I get it? Was it amazing? Yes. I didn't ask for pizza the other day when I was at my friend's house. They offered it to me, and I had it, and it was great.
You know what else we didn't ask for? A New Hope in 1977.
And we got it.
We got it, and we loved it.
Now, it can be crap. There is the
absolutely
option. There is the possibility that something could be crap.
100%.
But we didn't ask for Top Gun Maverick either, did we?
I know. And I would guarantee that we got a season of What If. I'm sure there'll be some episodes be like, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that episode. But that's okay. That's okay still. And as far as Top Gun 3 goes, hey, as long as the Hammer comes back, as long as Rear Admiral Chester Hammer Kane comes back, I'm all good. I'm on board.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway. All right. Let's get into our topic. We're already an hour in. This is going to be a longer episode today. I'm here for it. I'm okay with it. One more tangent, and then I swear, stay with us, folks. Stay with us.
Enough with the fucking Ed Harris joke.
That's never going to happen. Branding, Matty Warner. It's branding at this point. But going into our topic, I want to tie it into one last time. I'll tie it into fandom stuff before I promise we won't talk about it again. We will be positive the rest of the show as far as just having our conversation. I know some people don't want to get dragged down the mire. Sometimes I think it's necessary. But so stick with us, folks. We're doing there. The topic of the day was George Lucas's Episode 7 because there is a user on Reddit who, I know Reddit's a hive of scum and villainy. I get all that and everything else, but there's still some good things on Reddit.
It's a great place. I love Reddit.
And then I know you just love bashing people on Reddit. But there was a user.
It's that one big game of whack-a-mole.
At least I saw it in Star Wars Canteen, a user called Funny Mode 689. Don't know who they are, no affiliation, no clue. But he had accumulated all the information that had ever been leaked or talked about in like the Star Wars art books, et cetera, collated all the information we have on what George Lucas was developing in 2011 and 2012 for Episode 7 before he sold to Disney, and they eventually, as we know, famously tossed out the George Lucas ideas and went their own way. Now, tying it back into fandom, some people see this topic and go, oh no, they must be sequel haters because everybody on that side is like, well, George left, then this is what George should have done. This is the real Star Wars because only George Lucas Star Wars is real Star Wars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I hope by now that hope that you're not your first.
Don't you dare justify it yourself. Don't clarify. Don't justify it. If people want to think that, fuck them, they can think that. We've got so many episodes of this show now that I think we have proven that we are not sequel bashers. We're not sequel haters. Don't you dare justify or clarify anything. If you've come in looking for our opinion, we're gonna fucking give it to you.
Absolutely.
I'm sick of clarifying or justifying where we stand on things. From now on, we're just gonna give our opinion. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Tough shit.
I want to just plead to those people who think that way, just look at it and go, this is still an interesting topic of conversation. Doesn't mean you have to be anti. Just because you like to have this conversation doesn't mean you're anti it. So I'm very fascinated to know what George Lucas's original idea was. It's a great what if story, isn't it? Interesting. So with that being said, he definitely went through a lot. And I wish I didn't download on this. I should put the screen art up. I should have done that. This concept art was part of it. And there was some very interesting concept art of, maybe you did that at some point. A lot of different things. A Luke, Han, the pre-version of Rey, etc. A lot of cool things in the art, but we'll talk about everything else at this point.
Look
Go
at
to the
that.
Reddit.
No, it's actually pretty fucking cool.
There's a lot of cool artwork pieces, considering all the characters. But let's go through the production. They broke it down to production notes, characters, plot settings. You even had some casting news. I'm not sure where you got the casting news from. I don't know if this was like notes as far as what they wanted to cast, or this was like a weird writing this character with this person in mind, maybe potentially. But let's go through it.
Right, ChatGPT.
Baby, ChatGPT. Now, in the book, the first thing they're talking about in the book of the Art of the Force Awakens, one of the characters was a Jedi named Kira, and she was described as a loner, hothead, gear-headed badass. And there was another teen often referred to as Sam, and mostly depicted with a blaster, which indicated he didn't have force powers himself. Now, Kira, we all kind of knew, I think it's pretty common knowledge that at one point, Rey was called Kira. So this is obviously the Rey character that developed from there. Because no matter what you say about the sequel trilogy, it definitely, and even if they threw out a lot of George's ideas, I think there was some still basis in reality here, as we're going to find out as we go through. So Kira was pretty much Rey, because that describes Rey, a loner, hothead, gear-headed badass. That's pretty much Rey at this point. As George continued to develop the story, he changed his name for a couple of times. So I'll also go Thea. And I love this one. At one point, she was called Winky.
I like that.
That's very George Lucas, right?
Why didn't we at least get like a droid called Winky, or just like a little creature? You can maybe call one of the little the crystal creatures Winky.
Well, Jim Carrey has Captain Winky, but that's
right. He does. That's right. Yeah.
The other name that had come up
from Teletubbies.
Exactly. Other name that potentially was there was Skylar, and then Pablo Hidalgo had confirmed the name Skylar.
Nah, that's a stripper name. You can't use Skylar.
I agree. And that's too close to Skywalker, honestly. Skywalker, Skylar, I think it wouldn't have been. Imagine you had to take the name at the end. My name is Skylar Skywalker. That's a little too much. Too much alliteration there. Interesting enough, here's something that really did fascinate me. The late 2012 idea of a Luke Skywalker.
Wait, did you say Skylark or Skylar?
Skylar.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I thought you said Skylark. I was like, no, you definitely can't use that name.
The late 2012 idea of Luke Skywalker haunted by the betrayal of one of his students in self-imposed exile and spiritually in a dark place. That seems like exactly what we got. Which
little emo kid.
I gotta say, I don't want to bring up Phantom stuff too much, but one more time I had to slide in there. A lot of people hated The Last Jedi for what they did to Luke Skywalker, because my Luke Skywalker would never do that. George's Luke Skywalker would never do that. Actually, the idea came from George Lucas here. So yes, I guess he would. If anybody knows it, what would happen, Luke? It'd be George Lucas, and that's what he says is happening. So interesting enough. Luke was being described as a Colonel Kurtz type, hiding from the world in a cave. Okay, there we go. Next bit. Gangsters like the Hutts are taking advantage of the situation, and there's chaos. The key person is Darth Maul, who was resurrected in the Clone Wars cartoon. He brings all the gangs together. One is with a set of cybernetic legs like a spider. Later on, he has metal legs with a bigger bit more of a superhero. He trained a girl, Darth Talon, who was in the comics, as his apprentice. She was the new Darth Vader, and most of the action was with her. Maul was the godfather of crime, and Talon was his apprentice Darth Vader type. Now, there's a bunch to talk about here. First of all,
George, you're a fucking genius.
First of all, this begs to me that George Lucas said, "I'm developing this, Dave. You're bringing Darth Maul back." Because why? Not just because he wanted Darth Maul to come back for the Clone Wars, because he wanted him to come back for Episode 7, and he's like, "I'm going to make it happen in Clone Wars and then bring him back in Episode 7." It was all tied in together. I never thought about that until I heard about George wanting to use Maul. I actually forgot or never thought about putting the pieces together where he brings it up in the Clone Wars and he put him in Episode 7. Obviously, things changed and Dave Filoni killed Maul off in Rebels. Twin sons there.
That was his first strike.
More interestingly to me, Darth Talon. This is a female Sith who was in the Legacy of the Force comics with Cade Skywalker, the one that took place in 187 years after the Battle of Yavin. Well, funny enough, George, who was always so supposedly anti-expanded universe, was going to take a girl from the comics and make her canon.
Hey,
What? That's
we
cool.
know why George took her. We know why George took her.
Why is
Come
that?
on.
Either way, I found that particularly to be fascinating. The fact that George is going to take an EU character. I mean, we know it's famous how he doesn't like Mara Jade. Obviously, he doesn't hate all the EU, though. He was going to take that character and bring her into play in episode 7. I think it's a great concept. I think it's kind of a cool thing that could happen. Okay, another quote again. The original saga was about the father, the children, and the grandchildren. I mean, that's not a secret anyway. It's even in the novels and everything. The children were in their 20s and everything, so it wasn't the Phantom Menace again. So the children's children are obviously going to be about the children of the Force, of Luke, Leia, Han, and people like that, which makes sense to be exactly what George Lucas would have done. And I will say, as far as the sequels go, if I do have a, I don't know, if it's not even a negative about it. Personally, I think it would have been.
You have an opinion on it.
I have an opinion on it. Would have rhymed better for me if we had more. I know Ben Solo was there, obviously, but I kind of like it might be cheesy to some, but I kind of like the idea of having the children be heavily involved more in that case. But it did, so it's okay.
I don't like this next point.
Ford's least expected late career reprise was his return to the world of Star Wars.
Least expected late career. This is Harrison Ford you're talking about. Have some goddamn respect.
He said, I was surprised. The first call came from George Lucas. It was proposed that I might make another appearance as Han Solo. And I think it was mentioned even in the first call that he would not survive. Again, George Lucas's plan was to kill Han Solo off.
That wasn't George's plan. Come on. We know whose plan that was.
Maybe.
He wanted to die in the first movie.
Okay. Actually, I think maybe Lucas called him up with that in mind. I think Lucas has it. All right, I'm going to give you what you want, kind of thing. I think that's what it was at this point.
He was just like, do me this solid and I'll kill you.
It makes sense because Harrison Ford is now the mentor, one of the mentors, and that's what happens in any kind of cyclical storytelling like this. The mentor has to die in a way. Either way. Interestingly, really interestingly enough, around the release of the book Bloodlines, Pablo Hidalgo revealed that Castrofo, what was his name? Ransom Castrofo, was a character that existed in various forms in the earliest versions of the Force Awakens story. So the character that was in Bloodlines, who was a very kind of beloved character, a lot of people liked what he was was gravitated towards and wanted to see more from him. He's an original Lucasine Force Awakens character. I like that idea that we got him from them at that point. I don't know. It was the case of they had the notes. Somebody had the notes, and somebody talked to Claudia Gray and go, "Hey, we have this character called Castrofo who you could use in this case." They get to look at those notes and see them and take that from them. If so, that's pretty cool. I hope they do that more often. I'd love to see more bringing down things from notes that hadn't happened. Because that's if anything's a part of Star Wars lore, it's that they take like old designs or old possibilities and you bring them forth in new ways. Like Zeb being the original design for Chewbacca. Everything's possible. Bro.
It's Bruce Lee. Take what is required, discard what is not, make what is uniquely your own. It's Bruce Lee.
That's a great way to look at it. Very great. So, yeah, I love that idea. All right, going on to the plot now. The plot. Episode 7, 8, and 9 would take ideas from what happened after the Iraq War. Okay, you fought the war. You killed everybody. Now what are you going to do? Rebuilding afterwards is harder than starting a rebellion or fighting the war. When you win the war, disband the opposing army, what do? Stormtroopers would be like Saddam Hussein's Ba'athist fighters that joined ISIS and kept on fighting. The Stormtroopers refused to give up and the Republic win. Wow, Star Wars is political. First, Star Wars talks about the Vietnam War and everything else.
Who'd have known?
Bush administration for the prequels. This is the Iraq War. Absolutely, this fits into what George always likes to talk about.
So we went from who's the president again around the time of
the Iraq War? Bush.
Was it Nixon? Bush?
Oh, Nixon for
Vietnam and Bush.
Right. So it's more Bush at that point, but that's partially what they're going against, and that's
was he going to make Darth Maul into George W?
Maybe. I mean, probably more Dick Cheney.
Right one, George.
Probably more Dick Cheney. So they want to be stormtroopers forever. So they go to the far corner of the galaxy, start their own country, and run rebellion. Kind of sounds like the First Order. That seems like it's a direct correlation to what happened with that, at least potentially.
Sounds like the Taliban too.
Mm-hmm. All right, there's a power vacuum, so gangsters like the Hutts are taking advantage of the situation, and there's chaos. Key person is Darth Maul, who had been resurrected in the Clone Wars cartoons. He brings all the gangs together. Now, we kind of saw that a little bit, obviously, in the end of the Clone Wars kind of thing, which makes sense. It makes sense that they're doing that. Obviously, part of that was in play, but when
There
they
was some
didn't go
EU
that
stuff
route,
before though, when he was like working with Black Sun and
yeah,
stuff. So
100%.
again, more EU.
Absolutely. All right. The movies are how about Leia? I mean, who else is going to be the leader? Is trying to build a republic. They still have the apparatus of the republic, but they have to get under control from the gangsters. That was the main story. By the end of the trilogy, Luke would have rebuilt much of the Jedi, and we would have had the renewal of the New Republic with Leia, Senator Organa becoming the supreme chancellor in charge of everything. So she ended up being the chosen one. That's from George Lucas's mouth. Interesting. I think it's kind of interesting. We have a floating chosen one idea. Anakin's always been the real chosen one, but I think there's several chosen ones. Luke helped facilitate the chosen one. Leia being the chosen one in terms of she reunites the galaxy. A lot of cool storylines there, and having Leia being that much in control would have been a great ending. I'm not going to lie.
Maybe
Fortunately,
the chosen one after the chosen one.
Yeah, we don't know. There's a lot of different chosen ones. I think out there. The potential you can have more than one.
Broom Boy is a chosen one.
Potentially, hey, I'll go with it. All right. The midichlorians with force-sensitive beings communicate directly with the wills, allowing super powerful beings to control the galaxy. Back in the day, I used to say ultimately that what this means is we're just cars, a vehicle for the wills to travel around in. We're vessels for them. Now, this is kind of what we heard a lot of. I remember when this was first brought out, that the idea was George Lucas had this really funky script idea where we're going to talk about the midichlorians more, and the wills were going to be there. It was going to be this microbiology kind of thing. People were like, what the hell is George talking about? I feel like that was more of an overall like kind of spiritual thing that was there and less the actual focus of the story. People made that out like that was going to be the focus of the story, which is weird. This makes more sense to me. We're going to have to learn things about this, but it would it only affect the story kind of metaphysically and as far as what's going on, not necessarily the dramatic storyline of the actual Republic and Darth Maul and things of that nature. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. The outline George created in early 2012 was about a 14-year-old
Don't
girl
like
named
this.
Taryn.
Don't like this.
Taryn?
Yeah, don't like that. I dated a young lady named Taryn, and she keep my car. Don't like that.
That's fine. The little person.
And that's not like an accusation. I watched her do it. So I'm glad that idea got thrown out.
George based the story around a young woman's quest to become a Jedi Knight, an allusion to the movie Apocalypse Now. He likened her quest to find Luke to Wither going up to the river to seeking out Colonel Kurtz.
Apocalypse Now in Star Wars.
Pretty cool, right?
This is the second time this week that Apocalypse Now has come up in conversation about movies, because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about how the Metal Gear Solid movie is apparently supposed to be like Apocalypse Now, and I was like, that does not fit. But Apocalypse Now in Star Wars.
That could fit.
Willem Dafoe in Star Wars, anyone?
Oh, I take that in a heartbeat. I would take that in an absolute heartbeat. Anytime you got a good character like that, or a good actor.
He was in Apocalypse Now, right?
Yes.
Or am I thinking of Platoon?
Dafoe.
Dafoe was in Apocalypse Now, I'm pretty sure.
No, he was definitely
because he's the one that gets shot in the back.
Hold on a second.
Where am I thinking of Platoon?
I think you're thinking of Platoon. Now I think about it. I haven't seen Apocalypse Now.
There's the scene where he's like, there's the epic scene where he's like running and he gets like shot in the back 500,000 times.
I'm trying to think. It's been a while since I've seen either movie, to be honest.
With Charlie Sheen and
that's definitely Platoon.
Okay.
I think he was. I think when I remember, actually, if I remember correctly, if I was right, he was potentially supposed to be in Apocalypse Now. At one point, he was thought of to potentially play the role.
I'm thinking of Platoon.
Yeah, that's fine. I remember that at one point he was considered to be in. He was going to be possibly be Benjamin Willard in Apocalypse Now, but that didn't end up happening. I don't know. But either way,
Martin Sheen was in Apocalypse Now. That's what I'm getting across. And Harrison Ford, even though Harrison Ford was in it for one scene. To give a guy an envelope.
That's right, very briefly. God, it's been a while. I haven't watched Apocalypse Now since I was like 15, I think. So that's a long time ago now. Either way, okay, let's move on then to the next part. George's ideas also include a son of Han and Leia being seduced to the dark side. Well, duh, that's Ben Solo right there. It's also Jason Solo from the EU as well. So he's cherry picking some ideas right there and there.
Leia became Jason Sindula.
Yes, absolutely. All right, talked about some of these points that are written there, kind of like repetitive, so I'm going to skip over and that. Okay, it starts out. Next one. It starts out a few years after Return of the Jedi. We established pretty quickly that there's this underworld. There are these offshoot stormtroopers who started their own planets, and then Luke is trying to return the Jedi. He puts the word out, so out of 100,000 Jedi, maybe 50 or 100 are left. The Jedi have to grow again from scratch, so Luke has to find 2- and 3-year-olds and train them. It'll be 20 years before you have a new generation of Jedi. Interesting, because that's kind of triggers a little different. That actually feels more like the Phantom Menace version of a sequel trilogy. We start episode 7 that far back, and then jump 10 years to the rest of the stuff, or 20 years potentially the rest of the stuff. But I also like to point out real quick, maybe 50 or 100 Jedi are left. 50 or 100 out of the Jedi Order. That means only people are complaining
1%.
about all these Jedi who die. There's so many Jedi who have now lived past Order 66. George has this confirmed right there. There are 50 or 100 Jedi left. So that's that it all makes sense. It all makes sense exactly what George would have wanted to a degree. So I like that. Let's see. That's pretty much it. Apparently, the initial plan for episode 7 was that Luke, over the course of the movie, would rediscover his vitality and train his new Jedi. So basically, what we got from the Rey Luke storyline, Last Jedi, was initially supposed to be the bones for episode 7. In an alternate universe where episode 7 was Luke reluctantly training a new Jedi was completely different. That's actually true. Like, exactly thinking about it. If they started off with episode 7, Luke being hidden in caves, cut off, and then he meets Rey and stuff. They just they did that, but they just kind of pushed it. They pushed it a little. They kind of rescheduled it and pushed it a little bit further along, and that ended up being part 8, which does lead to one, I think, valid complaint about the sequel trilogy, is that we never did get to see Han, Luke, and Leia together again. That's kind of a sad thing. I wish we did get it. Unfortunately, stuff happens, and things didn't work out the way they should, and who knows? But it's not the end of the world. All right, let's see what else we got. Also in the treatment George handed over in 2012. Luke Skywalker died in episode 8. Just where he died in episode 8.
Oh my God, you guys. It's like George had this planned all along.
Right. So it's not like, it feels like that the idea that they tossed George Lucas's ideas aside completely doesn't seem like they did. It seems like they massaged something.
I'm going to tell you exactly what this is. This is Disney saying, hey, George, can we copy your homework, but like make it look like we didn't copy your homework?
Pretty much. Which makes sense, though. You can't do everything exactly. George wasn't going to be around the whole time. So you take the bare bones idea and you massage a little bit to what you want, the story you want to tell. That's what happened with new creators. And that's a okay thing to happen. All right, let's see. Early on, I tried to write versions of the story where Rey is at home, her home is destroyed, then she goes on the road and meets Luke, and she goes and kicks the bad guy's ass. It never worked, and I struggled with this. This is back in 2012. It just felt like every time Luke came in and under the movie, he just took it over. Suddenly, you didn't care about your main character anymore because, oh, fuck, Luke Skywalker's here. I want to see what he's going to do. That's true.
I'd love to hear George say that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a George quote to me. I can't tell you where that's from. That feels like it's a more of a J.J.
Go back and watch that thing with him and Nolan again. That's definitely something he would say.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Anyway, so, all right. So settings, some settings that we're talking about. Very early take on Luke's temple. Way back when there's no director. Doug Chang Yep, I said that. Fabuloso stamps I'm talking about. Let's see, anything else in here?
Some of the early MacGuffins of the movie, the thing that drives the movie's plot was a search for Darth Vader's remains. That's pretty cool. A request to the underwater wreckage of the second Death Star to recover a piece of history about sacred Jedi sites in the galaxy. That's exactly what we got. I mean, it was sacred Sith sites.
So when the adventure is over, Kira finds a hidden map inside the Emperor's Tower of the second Death Star. The map tells you where the Jedi are and where Luke is hiding. Okay. So basically, we're looking for a map to where Luke is hiding. Okay. Or a map inside the Emperor's Tower in the second Death Star. So basically, they're saying they use that stuff. They just kind of split it up a little bit and told different sides of things about.
Did she find it in a Tower of Maz Kanata's?
She did, and she found the. Well, they had that. They mapped the R2 had the map, and BB-8 had the map of the flash drive. But she found the Sith Wayfinder in the second Death Star instead. So basically, it's like they took the idea of a map to where Luke is hiding and used it in episode 7, and the Emperor's Tower and used it in episode 9. So still all there. It's all kind of still there impressively. So let's see. We got some interesting casting choices. Obviously, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, yada, yada, yada.
I like Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult as Skylar, a young and charming archaeologist graduate from the New Republic Historical Restoration Initiative. Skylar has been tasked by Senator Leia Organa to seek out lost Jedi relics and locations thought purged by the Empire in the hopes of finding her lost brother, Luke Skywalker. Fair enough. Thea, which is our Rey character at some point, Shailene Woodley, who was in, she was the one in the Divergent, I believe she was one in the Divergent movies.
Okay, never seen those. I always get those mixed up with Hunger Games.
They're the ones that were less successful, unfortunately. She's also in The Fault in Our Stars, To Catch a Killer, Adrift, a bunch of different things. She's a decent actress. I don't interesting to see her in Star Wars. I don't know if this is ever even considered at any point, like besides like the initial pitch or whatever. Anything else?
I like this Michael Fassbender as Moff Tidius. That's a Final Fantasy X character. Tidius. Moff Tidius, an ambitious former Imperial officer stationed on Kubindi. He has risen to command of the planet Kubindi and named himself Moff.
Yeah.
The world still controlled by still controlled by imperialists with ties to wider criminal gangs.
I like that.
So Fassbender is a Nazi.
Makes sense. Yes, he would fit that role very well. He's very good at that.
Quite the flip on Magneto.
Yes, exactly. It's definitely a flip on that, but still kind of like in that kind of way. But interesting. When I want to talk about Candice McClure as Darth Talon. Candice McClure was from Battlestar Galactica. She was Anastasia Duala. She was the young African American, very skinny looking. Could have been some strong. She's also in Carrie, 2002 Carrie, Children of the Corn. I didn't recognize the name. She's also in
Children of the Corn.
In 2009's Children of the Corn. So she was like one of the main people in that, pretty much. So yeah, she's actually would have been a very cool choice. I'd loved her in Battlestar Galactica. So
at least they got Daniel Craig in there, somehow.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman as Senator Career Cindy and the Senator for Arkansas. She's a strong supporter of centrist movement with shadowy ties to the galactic underworld. Yeah.
Do you think she just does her AMC speech?
Probably, yeah. I did like Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig is Rudy and Shaw, former Jedi Padawan who survived Order 66, who was hiding during the Empire's reign. That's very cool. I'd love to see Daniel Craig doing that. That'd be awesome.
Daniel Craig.
Michael B. Jordan as Senator Casterfo. What an interesting choice that is.
That's good.
Yeah, that's very good. That fits that very, very well. Finally, unknown. We got obviously Ray Park and Sam Ball. That makes sense. Unknown as Chancellor Laniver Villachum, the third New Republic Chancellor, newly appointed to oversee the New Republic Senate. Okay. So last bit, we have some of the backstory of it. Timeline. The timeline. Everything is pretty much the same as it was. Obviously, we had the same things we know. We have 5 ABYs is where it started. Leia Organa is taken by Luke Skywalker as his first Jedi apprentice. Skylar is born. 6 ABY Malt finds an orphan Talon and takes her to the dark side apprentice. The Battle of Sedilla takes place. Okay. 8 ABY Leia falls pregnant and relinquishes her role as a Jedi. 9 ABY the Empire officially surrenders. The New Republic government is created. Mon Mothma is elected as first New Republic Chancellor, and Ben Solo is born.
Oh, for that.
10 ABY Chewbacca returns to his family on Kashyyyk, and Han Solo begins a ship racing career. Okay. And actually takes in that's kind of what happened a little bit in the comic books and everything else. I mean, Chewbacca was there more, but he definitely returned more and more. 12 ABY Thea is born. 19 ABY Ben Solo is taken by Luke Skywalker as a Jedi Padawan at the behest of Leia Organa. Okay. 24 ABY Ben Solo attempts to kill an unarmed prisoner on a Jedi mission, stopped by Luke Skywalker and runs away. Separation of Leia and Han. Luke Skywalker vanishes into exile with R2-D2. Wow. That sounds like exactly what the timeline happened.
Kind of. I mean, Luke didn't try to kill Ben in that instance, which I think actually is the better thing to do. I think that adds
Mm-hmm.
to the tragedy, and it adds to Luke's character of always trying to be Luke Skywalker. You can never turn the hero off. He always has to be Luke Skywalker, the Jedi. He can't just be Luke Skywalker, the uncle.
Absolutely. All right. The plot now. The Dark Shadow is what it was called. I'm not sure if that's. I guess that's what the initial title was going to be. The Dark
Weird.
Shadow. I like that. It's
Weird.
very. I like it. It's actually very George. It's very George. Very, very serial.
When have you ever seen a light shadow?
Tell me it's not a serial from the 30s, though. It's not a serial title from the 30s.
Bro, all shadows are dark. You should just call it The Shadow.
You can't have that as a movie with Alec Baldwin. That's a hero. That's a hero character. But so the Crawl, a fragile peace, 26 years since the defeat of the Empire at Endor, the New Republic has risen to control most of the galaxy. With no Jedi Order to maintain peace and Jedi Master Luke Skywalker lost in exile, the struggle for power left by the vacuum of the Empire falling has been seized by the criminal gangs in the mid and outer rim territories. Senator Leia Organa searches for a fabled godfather of crime, pulling the strings from the shadow in hopes of finding peace one and for all. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if that's a George Crawl or what it is, but I don't know. It is what it is, I guess.
Do you remember the shot of Maul in Clone Wars on the throne, just like cross-legged?
Yes.
Now I just picture Maul with like sitting like that, just going, "You come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding. You don't even have the respect to call me Godfather.
I love it.
You don't even have the respect to call me Darth.
Call me Darth." All right, now let's get into the plot. Basically, it started off with the hooded figure, Maul, approaches a bar and a death stick dealer offers him death sticks. Wow. A little bit of a poetry at rhymes there. I like that.
Elon Sleaze Begano cameo. I love it.
Yeah, being older Elon, obviously, at that point. That's when the red Twi'lek barmaid is serving drinks, and the hooded figure reveals his robes, and he talks to Tam. Basically, this is where he recruits Darth Talon. This is actually Rudy. Oh, I'm sorry, I take that back. This is actually Rudy. This is the Daniel Craig character who's trying to recruit Talon. Talon takes the Jedi back to their apartment. I guess they kiss. Interestingly enough, we're gonna have some romance between Jedi. I guess this is a new Jedi Order, as it were. But Talon then kills Daniel Craig's character, which makes sense. And she brings her black cloak on, and that's where we see her leaving the Daniel Craig behind. Then we have the New Republic, a new Chancellor, celebrating 20 years since the Empire has officially been surrendered, and they're just basically talking up the idea. I love the fact that it has the centrists in here, the populace, which is definitely a big part of Bloodline. Must have really had a great look at this plot during the development, and probably took a lot from it and figured they could use everything in here that doesn't go against what actually happens in Force Awakens. And none of this really happens because Force Awakens doesn't really deal a whole lot with the New Republic. They kind of basically say they're on Hosnian Prime and then they die, and that's pretty much it. Leia is the Resistance, and that's all it is. So we've got to try to at least say all they have to do is avoid that, and they're going to kind of go with George's idea.
Hopefully Perrin bites the bullet.
Hopefully he hasn't even made it to that part at this point, to be honest with you.
Fuck that guy.
So Leia talks to Mon Mothma, and I guess it looks like Leia and Mon Mothma talk about this godfather of crime who we don't know. We know it, and obviously it's going to end up being Maul, what we know. We have the planet Sedalia, where there was a battle there before. I don't know if Sedalia, it looks like Sedalia is actually going to take the place of Jakku to a degree, because it's a host of a battle like where the Empire and Rebel Alliance fought, and there's hundreds of drowned ships across the space, especially a Star Destroyer. And this is where the young woman who is Thea is there at a backwater planet. So that kind of seems to be pretty much the setup of Episode 7 was at this point, except for that she has her own shop. She's kind of like a little bit of a Watto Anakin combo. It seems like she's got her own shop, but she's definitely mechanical, making her own speeder, things of that nature. And she does do very much the Rey going to Star Destroyer, vulturing for parts, so to speak, and getting parts out of the way, which is very cool. I like that idea. Moving along, we got a casino planet. Where have we seen a casino planet before? Again, it surprises me. I'm seeing how much they actually did take conceptually from a lot of George's ideas.
And they're probably going to do the same thing for the Ray movie.
I don't disagree. We might actually see some of this come back in a different way. Does seem like
I'm not crazy about the name Dunstar.
Yeah. George doesn't always have the greatest of names. Not gonna lie.
It's not a casino. It's not like the Bellagio or
right.
Caesars.
Looks like Talon goes in there. They find Talon and they find Ben Solo in there at this point. Interestingly enough, reading all this, basically it seems like she's gonna take Ben on to the dark side at this point. But of course, we know conceptually that Talon's going to go with Maul, or is with Maul as it is. Looks like she's probably already with Maul at this point. But she's probably tasked out to find young Ben Solo. They come, and she comes back and then when Thea comes back to her shop, she finds Skylar, the Skylar character, waiting for her. It looks like they're going to become a duo with there. Skylar, I guess, is going to be kind of like Finn, but this is where the differences take place completely. Like Finn is a very different character than Skylar. The only thing that seems to be the same is that he is with the Rey character. It's like the two of them get together at first, as far as traveling together and working together. She sees Luke Skywalker in her dreams, which makes sense. That actually totally makes sense. And she sees more and more getting some interesting thing. I like this. Not being able to sleep, she activates the security hologram footage she had scavenged on board, and we get to see young Luke Skywalker wielding his green lightsaber, fighting stormtroopers on board of an Imperial ship during the Battle of Sedalia. That's awesome. I think that's a great. Would have been a cool thing to see. I guess it would have been a lot like what we saw in Mandalorian, to be quite honest. To be completely honest.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Getting more with going back to Coruscant there. Leia has meetings with Ransom Casterfo, and they start talking about support of Leia.
Imagine Carrie and Michael B. Jordan acting across from each other. That would be sweet.
That really would have been sweet.
I know he gets like the whole face actor thing quite a lot. He is a great actor.
Oh, absolutely. I think he would have fit in perfectly because he has presence, especially this kind of presence. Him in this kind of role would have been different from what we got from him recently. But I love him in that kind of like upper class kind of role. It'd be interesting to see him. So he definitely could pull it off. During this conversation, she reveals that Wedge had been secretly working undercover and had come across too many terms of the Godfather, so to speak. More about that. But I love that Wedge isn't here full on. I feel like that's one of the mistakes we could have gotten from the New Republic, or the sequel trilogy. We get to see more from Wedge, and I think that it's good to see him branched out a little bit more.
Yeah, could have gone branched into the Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So we get a lot more back with Thea and Skylar coming through, and they're looking for a way to get to the Jedi or where Luke could have been. And this is where they tell about the Emperor having a vault that contains an ancient Jedi match containing all the Jedi temples throughout the known galaxy, which is kind of what we're looking for in Episode 7. We're looking for a map to Luke Skywalker. Thea is looking for a map to Luke Skywalker, basically, is what it is. I like this conversation here. There's a MacGuffins that takes place, just like we had. Great moments there. Get some little more poetic moments. She offers New Republic credits, and they get turned down, saying the currency is worthless out there. That's okay. That's fine.
That's a little callback.
A little callbacks. They all have these callbacks. That's great.
Republic credits are not good out here.
We go back to Talon's ship, and she receives an incoming transmission from a hooded figure who she addresses as Master, and he tells her to go bring Moff Tidius in line. So basically, Maul telling Talon to go bring Michael Fassbender into line and bring Imperial in with the Godfather, so to speak, which is how Maul's going to be placed in charge of the Imperial remnants. But that's the best part about it. You're going to have the Imperials with the Godfather. So you get gangs, Black Sun, all of it together. That's a formidable force at that point. It makes sense because one of the issues is one of the issues the Force, the First Order has in a way is the Rebels beat the Empire disbanded. How can the Empire be a threat again? Well, the Empire teamed up with the gangs. What's left of the Empire teamed up with the gangs of the Black Sun and that kind of thing, headed off by Darth Maul. It becomes a very formidable foe again all of a sudden.
That's probably the direction they're going to go in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get next up we get Nicole Kidman's the Carice Indian goes into the environment and starts talking to people and ends up revealing that this is Darth Maul. She addresses him as Godfather, so Nicole Kidman's character would have been an evil senator, it seems like, or at least on that side, which is interesting. It's hard seeing Nicole Kidman like as a villain, but it'd be kind of cool to see it though, in the same way.
Yeah, I'd like that. That'd be pretty sweet, especially if she calls Darth Maul Godfather.
Absolutely. I mean, it definitely has to do with. It's actually, I forgot the character's name in Bloodlines, but it kind of reminded me there was that one character who was kind of working with Leia, but definitely anti-Leia to a degree too. I can't remember.
The one that revealed that Vader was her dad.
Yes.
I forget her name, but I know who you mean. Yeah.
I think this is kind of was.
Didn't she like try blackmailing her?
Yes, exactly. I haven't read Bloodlines. I want to reread that. I actually really liked that one, but I never got a chance to reread it yet. We do get Kashyyyk and Han looking for Chewbacca because Chewbacca is living with his wife Mala Tubak and Lumfaru. Now here's their thing. George wants to throw away the special edition, the holiday special, but he's going to canonize them right then and there. Looks like. But Chewie and Han reunite, and Han says he has an important mission he needs to save his son and bring him back home. And so Chewie's like, "Oh hell yeah, I'm going to go with you." He'll just go.
Chewie's down. Oh, always.
So Thea and Skylar went to the Death Star to find the wreckage in the second Death Star. Again, Rise of Skywalker really just kind of took some of that from there. So it's very interesting. Kind of comes back and forth. Basically, Talon brings Moff Tydeus together. Tydeus is he's not exactly thrilled about it, but he eventually looks like he'll fall into order eventually. And it seems like a lot of political stuff going on here. And then going back to Nicole Kidman's character as a restaurant in Coruscant, making the galaxy a safer place from gangsters because she is hiding that. This is where she says that Leia is hiding things to the populace at this point. This is where I think this came from. This came right from Bloodlines at this part. Bloodline came right from here. That Carice Indian, there it is. She reveals Leia's lineage as the brother of Luke Skywalker and the children of Darth Vader. Everyone Ransom is shocked. And it comes to that issue where Leia is going to have to face that in the New Republic. So again, it really feels like Bloodline. If you want to know what happened with George Lucas, Bloodline was very much close to what George Lucas wanted to have happen, at least as far as the political side of things go, which makes sense because, like I said before, Episode 7, Episode 8, they really didn't deal with the political stuff of Star Wars at all. It was all like all we knew was that Leia had some kind of falling out, and Leia had started the Resistance. That's it. Everything else was they had that. We had the brief appearance of how the name Prime was being destroyed. So it looks like Bloodline basically said, all right, well, we're going to make George Lucas's pitch canon, and this is what we're going to do. And we'll make that the book side of things in a way. I like that. I like that quite a bit. So let's see. Anything else? Looks like there's Leia goes into a Senate pod and the Chancellor started emergency session. And it looks like Moff Tydeus invaded the sector with the military forces. And all of a sudden we're like, oh boy, here, this is what we're coming into. The Imperial Remnant's coming into place. Talon's involved at this point. And we don't know what to do. Leia wants to do one thing, Cindy wants to do other. And Leia agrees with military action, but does it begrudgingly at this point. Because she's not sure what's going on. It seems like Cindy's got definitely a different motivation, which is going to be interesting to see how that would have happened. But then we jump back to the Millennium Falcon over Felucia. We just seen Felucia again.
Felucia.
Cool. Felucia. I would like to have seen that. It would have been kind of cool to see Felucia again. Like I'd like to revisit. One of my things about the sequel trilogy as well. Again, I seem to point negative things out. I don't. That's not to say anything that the whole was negative.
Stop.
The things I would have loved.
Stop it. Stop it.
I would love to have seen them go back to some planets that we haven't had before. Like we had all these planets that were created for the prequel specifically that we could have used again, I understand the idea of wanting to create a new planet and making your own mark on things, but let's say some of those planets we didn't get a chance to visit too much of. We got that a little bit Clone Wars, which was cool. I'd love to have seen Felucia in Episode 7, for example. We get a pirate leader named Suko Gusto. That could have been Hondo. God damn it. That could have been Hondo. Should have been Hondo.
That's the thing. This is the thing that the more I'm reading this now, and I'm reading it like as you're saying it, like I'm just like, where's Hondo in this? Like Hondo,
Right
either way, like even if it's Disney or Lucas, Hondo Watch would still continue
100%. 100%.
in a completely different reality. We're still waiting for Hondo.
Still waiting for Hondo. So Han gets some information out of Suko, out of Hondo, out of fake Hondo, faux Hondo, as I should say. And they're going to Moff Tadius's because it looks like Ben is there, and that's where the location is going to lead. So it's all coming together as it should, as Star Wars tends to do. We've got these disparate pieces of information going in different places. They all eventually end up in the same place towards the end. So Thea does find Luke Skywalker at this point, not at the end of the movie, but at least in the middle part of the movie at this point. There's a Sith spirit around. Luke seems like he's darkened, and Luke seems like he's really kind of like not involved. He kind of like is, if he's scared or if he's more evil, not evil, but he's just kind of pushing things around. He looks like a Sith spirit is attached and kind of had influence on him. But finally, he becomes Luke Skywalker, pushes around and destroys the Sith spirit, clearing his mind, which is good because a Sith Luke Skywalker would have been even harder to deal with than Maul at that point, considering what was going on. She thanks Leia for saving him, and Leia feels Luke for the first time in years. And this is what we get. Like, we get the thing where Luke, probably the difference between Last Jedi and this Luke is that it looks like Luke was quicker to return to the Luke Skywalker era, and he definitely doesn't take as long to develop the kind of where Luke is more begrudging in The Last Jedi, which was appropriate for the story they were telling. In this case, though, it makes sense that he would go a little bit quicker because he's jumping in back into the fray to help out with with what's going on with the Sith at this point.
Yeah,
which makes sense. We get a little more with Ben and Talon. Did get a lot with Talon and Maul at this point, but Maul finally hails Talon, tells her he has felt a disturbance in the Force, which obviously is probably about Luke. And that's what Ben actually says too. Maul doesn't have any idea who Ben is at this point, believes she was alone. But which is interesting that Talon taking some things on her own, I guess. But Maul, I like this part. Maul asks who Ben is, believing she was alone. Ben says he is Ben Solo, and Maul smiles in delight, changing his aggressive demeanor to one of polite, frail old man who says it is an honor to meet the young Solo. I'd like to meet him in person. Very much the Maul Ezra vibes that we would have gotten.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah, this is definitely him and Ezra.
I love that idea. Again, it's poetry, it rhymes, whatever you want to say. And it's an overused saying. A lot of times you're bringing these things in, you use them.
This is cherry picking at this point. It's just downright plagiarism.
It's just cherry picking ideas that should have been used or could have been used in a way. Or if they weren't used, we get to use them differently now, which is great. I think it's always great to recycle good ideas, or at least if you didn't use this good idea here, use it somewhere else. We do get Leia back with Admiral Akbar finally. Luke speaks to Leia through the Force, which is kind of cool, and he says that there was some kind of darkness going around. It was hung over it, and he senses that Han and Ben are in danger, though, and Luke wants to try to find out what's going on. Leia talks with Admiral Akbar, and they are talking about the planet and everything else. We have in Honagar orbit, which is Honagar is the Nogri place, I believe, I remember correctly, from the original Thrawn trilogy. I could be wrong on that.
You might be right. I'm going to take a look.
that would make sense that he's just, he took the Coruscant name from that, right? So Honagar is the home world of the Nogri. And that's where they are at this point. So it's interesting. I wonder if the Nogri would have taken place at all. I didn't actually, I'm reading this through for the first time, really getting through to the end of it. I wanted to read this on air with you guys to kind of have my first kind of reactions to it, which is why I stopped to do it. We get a little bit of battle. Luke, Thea, and R2 reach the bottom of the Jedi steps and find Skylar listening to the Republic Holonet about the Imperial attack. He soon puts it away and offers a handout to Luke, saying it's an honor to meet him. This is the Nicholas Holt character, of course. And Luke is ready to go, going to go back and help things out. Millennium Falcon drops out of hyperspace just as Talon squadrons entering the atmosphere. Han recognizes them as Mandalorian ships, and the Mandalorians and Imperials share no love lost, and it must be Talon and Ben, and tells Chewbacca to follow them. Interesting there. I got Talon, Ben, and Death Watch arrive and land outside Imperial Center. So just like Death Watch is there, that's all part of that mall thing as well. Interestingly enough, I wonder if that would have been Katie Sackhoff there. Maybe he was part of Death Watch back then. I don't know if he would have. I think it would have been different if the way Lucas had produced it at that point.
Maybe it was who played Xena, Warrior Princess.
Oh, Lucy Lawless.
Yeah.
Maybe that could have worked as well.
Well, who's the big jacked woman? China.
Yeah, she passed away by then, but maybe you never know. I like the fact that Ben and Talon enter the Falcon with red lightsabers through the cockpit window. Oof,
that's pretty sick.
That's pretty sick as well. So we got a lot of cool things going on with that. Han and Chewbacca are following a destructive path with Talon and Death Watch to the Imperial quarters, finding dead stormtroopers and officers along the way. So it looks like they're trying to find, they're finding Talon and Death Watch and everything else going on. So it's all kind of like a three-way battle. You got the Moff, you got the dark side with the Maul's people, you got Han and everything else. Talon leaves Ben behind, and Ben says he'll catch up with her because Ben is sensing his father at this point. Talon basically takes over for Tidius at this point, ends up killing Tidius to take over the Imperial Remnant. Therefore, this is where Maul solidifies his base with the gangsters and the Imperial Remnants. Han and Ben have their moment, and it seems like it's a lot of what would happen in Episode 7 a little bit, but a little bit more perhaps brighter. Ben starts basically going off on Han for a little bit because Han left him instead of Kara. It's interesting enough that Han left him behind when they separated. Ben talks to Chewbacca and tells Chewbacca to leave this loser and go back home and be with your family. Chewbacca roars and tells Ben he has family to him. Okay, very interesting bit there. So while Han, Chewbacca, and Ben are talking, Talon shows up, and Talon and Ben are there. Talon takes pleasure in knowing that Han is Ben's father and saying she's heard all about how absent he was in Ben's life and offered him no support or promise. And Han starts shooting at Talon. This is interesting enough. They start getting to the battle thing at this point. Han and Chewie against Talon and the Death Watch with their Beskar armor and everything else. Seems like Luke and Thea are going to be a little bit late, potentially. That's probably what's going to happen if you look at it the way it's going to happen. And Han and Chewie are... Ben is standing idle and watching. I guess that's an interesting way to do it. It makes sense. You have the whole, I don't know which side I'm going down a dark path. I still have that good inside of me. Very Star Wars trope. It's kind of like Vader watching Palpatine force lightning Luke. But eventually, Han tells Ben make a choice. And Han says if this is his choice, his mother would be ashamed of him. And then Ben says, he tells Han he's ashamed to call both of them his parents, and Han slaps him across the face, saying, "Don't you speak about your mother that way." Ben takes his lightsaber and stabs Han through the chest as Chewbacca lets out a mighty roar. It's not too far off from what we got. Not too far off. A little bit more emotional.
He didn't slap him, but
no, he went the other way. I actually prefer the sequel trilogy way, to be honest with you. I think that I like the idea of Han reaching out to Ben no matter what's going on, and Ben doing this out of darkness rather than out of impulse to a degree. Leia feels it just like she did in The Force Awakens. That makes sense. Everybody's kind of shaken. Luke finally shows up. So here, look at that. Interesting enough, we still don't get the Luke, Han, and Leia together, even in George's version. Which is another interesting callback. They said that Luke, this would happen. This is what George is plotting out. Again, it's so amazing to me how much.
A little bit of tragedy in it.
Yeah, Luke showing up just as Han is dead or collapsed over at this point, and we have Talon wanting to test herself against a true Jedi. At this point,
Darth Maul.
Yeah, very Darth Maul at that point. And they start fighting Talon versus Luke, which is interesting in a way because Talon is Darth Vader, remember, because Maul, it seems like this whole time, Maul is not. I don't think we're going to see Maul jumping around with the double-sided lightsaber at this point anytime soon. He's pretty much the older man, the Emperor type situation at this point. But again, we saw the Emperor fight in Episode 3. He's pretty old looking then too, so who knows? So Luke and Ben have their moment together. Ben, it seems like they're kind of in a dark place. Han does get to talk to Luke at least. It's too late to save me, Luke. Save my boy. Tell Leia. And Luke, interestingly, uses the Force to connect Han and Leia's mind, bridges across the stars, so that Han and Leia can have their contact. So exactly, dyad kind of thing. Interestingly enough, it's an interesting. I think it's very interesting that happened. At least they get some kind of connection together, which is nice. Han says it's time for him to go, and Leia says he will always be with her, and she will see him again when she joins the cosmic force. We get more into the cosmic force, which I kind of like that idea. I've always liked the cosmic unifying force, things of that nature that George talked about right back in episode 1. This point, we have basically the end at this point. It ends with Han's funeral back on New Alderaan. It says, I don't know what that would have been, but it's kind of cool. New Alderaan. And we had Wedge, Admiral Akbar, C-3PO, R2, and Lando being present for the funeral, which makes sense. 2 giant statues of Bail and Breya Organa, which is kind of cool as well. And then Talon's ship arrives on Dathomir as an elderly Darth Maul emerges from an old Night Sister temple to greet Talon and Ben and smiles, and he says he's honored to meet the mighty Ben Solo. Got it like that. That concept. I feel like Talon was going to die probably in episode 8 at that point, because Ben would have been the apprentice that takes her place underneath Maul. That's what my assumption would have been, but I don't know for sure. Luke and Leia have a moment together after Han's funeral, and Luke promises he will never leave again, and asks if Leia is ready to learn to be a Jedi. And Luke asks if Leia will pick up her lightsaber again, and she says her fight is in the Senate, and she was never cut out to be a Jedi like Luke. And Luke and Thea are going to be the new Jedi Order at that point. So that's how we're going to end episode 7. And I feel like it's going into places that a lot of them were similar beats. They were just kind of like differently massaged in a way. Would have been better? I don't know. It depends on how visually it would have been. I would love to have seen it. I would love to have seen it. As much as I love Force Awakens, I still would love to have seen it. What about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's not too far off what we got, other than Maul's the bad guy, which I would have loved to have seen. I do wonder how they would have got all this into one movie, but yeah, it's pretty much what we got.
Not too far off.
The core themes and the core moments, other than Death Watch being there and Maul being there, it's
a little more connected to the Clone Wars and Rebel stuff that we had gotten. That's part of the issue, not issue, but that's part of the thing. It feels like it was more about what had happened before and tied in like the sequel trilogy that we got, and to go off in new directions that weren't based on what was there before, which doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because exploring new sides of canon and new parts is always kind of cool as well. The connectivity thing for me, I would love to have seen some of that connectivity. I would love to have seen Maul be the bad guy to a degree. I would love to have seen Talon in place. All but have been sick. But overall, honestly, doesn't feel like a whole lot was different, except you have Luke being the hero of episode 7 at this point. And you know what? I kind of sort of agree with the reason why you don't put Luke in episode 7 for that reason, because once Luke gets in there, it becomes about, this is Luke Skywalker's film. The way they did it with the sequels, you introduce Rey, you bring Rey across, and then when Rey meets Luke at the very end and going to episode 8, you have a character with a movie behind her as the hero, that the focus has been on her the entire time. So you put Luke in there with the character. Now they're on equal footing as far as things go. And with Luke going to die anyway, which was going to take place in the George films as well, because Luke is the mentor character now, and Rey would have to move on. This actually makes it easier for Rey to move on. Like or not what happened with Rise of Skywalker, if you put Luke in episode 7 more, it becomes about Luke Skywalker. So even when Luke dies, it feels like she's a secondary choice. This way, she's established in episode 7. You have Luke and her in episode 8. And then when Luke does die, you have her able to be the new big cheese, as it were, for episode 9 and then beyond. So in a way, I understand why the sequel trilogy did what they did with Rey and with Luke, as far as that goes. Do I want to see Luke Skywalker kicking ass? My Luke Skywalker girl kicking ass? Absolutely, I get that. Totally get that. I was really happy to see him in the Mandalorian doing that. But story-wise, conceptually, it makes sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, heroes get old.
Mm-hmm. I also like Ben Solo in this, as far as I do like the idea of getting to see him get to where he is. Whereas the Force Awakens, he's kind of already there. And right from the get-go, he's Kylo Ren. He's doing his thing. He still has some moments, and obviously killing Han was his finishing, taking his last step, so to speak. But he's already pretty much dark side. I kind of like this, where he kind of like he has some problem, but he meets the right person. We get to see him falling under the wings of
like a misled youth.
Right. You get to see it happen. Whereas in episode 7, we know that this relationship happened, but they didn't show it on screen. Like, so we didn't get to see Snoke, the Snoke character, to ever really bring him along in a way. So that is a difference I kind of would have liked to have seen from the George's version in a way.
Maybe this show doesn't exist without Snoke.
That's true. That's true. There you go. It wouldn't have been Holy Snoke. It would have been Holy Talon. There's something to that effect. I mean, hey, who knows? But then that'd be double entendre for me, because I'd love Talon Card from the expanded universe, and I keep wanting Talon Card to come back. I keep hoping. I'm hoping that he'll be in the Heir of the Empire movie. That would make sense to me. But yeah, I like the politics we got. I like the more of the Leia characters and stuff like that. We missed the of course. Politics was a bad word in Star Wars for a while because of the prequels. That was like some of the quote unquote worst part of the prequel for some people was the quote unquote boring politics or whatever. I like the politics, and the politics shown here would have been great, I think, to be honest. They're getting Leia out there in front, getting to see Leia what she's doing. I think it works.
Agree.
But again, I understand Disney was hedging its bets a little bit. I think Disney sometimes does hedge its bets a little bit too much, though. They kind of react like, well, people didn't like this, so we're not going to have it at all. No. You can still have it. You can just do it in a little bit of a different way. You can tweak some things and still have it there. But yeah. All right, we are gone in about 2 hours now. We're kind of crushing through here. Any last thoughts you have on George Lucas's episode 7?
Let's see a little bit of this in the Filoniverse.
Yeah, we should be able to at this point. They've always been their best pieces of things. Like they kind of cherry pick some ideas that haven't been used and move them on into the real canon. And David Filoni has been good about this. So maybe we'll see Darth Talon. Maybe Talon will be part of the new Rey movie. Maybe that'll be like the enemy that comes along. Who knows?
Maybe, as long as it's not Taron.
As long as it's not Taron, that's fine. All right. Where can the folks find you, man? We're going to wrap this up.
You guys can find me. See right there. Right there. At Matty Morner on all socials. At Morner Band for my music. You can find me here every week. POD Projects. See that button down there? Hit that like. Hit the one next to it. Hit the subscribe. Yeah.
There you go, my friend. There you go. All righty, my friend. You can find me at Paul Denuzio on Twitter. You can find me at PLD Products and Threads and Blue Sky, Paul Denuzio. I don't really use them very much. I'd like to, but it just doesn't happen yet. I mean, all of our PLD projects, obviously, Crown Jewels every week on my sister channel, the Crown Jewels channel. This week, we have Sleeping on the Sidewalk, Brian May's Improv Blues Jam, which is just one take. A lot of cool rock and roll there for you. As far as TV and movie go, we have...
one take, though.
He did. The backing take was the first take, not one take, but they chose the first take. Like they tried to do it over and over again. They never really recovered the magic. So, I mean, sure, Brian put some background vocals on afterwards. And he said he kind of rearranged a little bit and mixed some things up, but the core of the backing track was that the first take they did when they were just kind of practicing it, which is kind of cool. I like that.
It's like when Jay-Z said that he did the Black album completely off rip. He didn't write any lyrics for it. I'm like, shut the fuck up. There's no way.
No way. You can also watch review every other week on the channel here. We're getting close to the end of the 1985 series, being Lego. Maddie's you. PJ and I do 2 Mediocre White Dudes on Film. Next up, we have Jason X Jason Goes to Space, one of my favorite of the series. I love that one so much. I have a lot of fun with that.
My favorite moment in the entire franchise is in that movie.
Sleeping Bag?
Yeah.
Fair enough. I love it too. I love a lot about that movie. We're going to dive deep into there, of course. And also, finally, we also do the Big Blue Box, which is going to be a sporadic podcast. We're going to be ranking the holiday specials next, coming up in a couple Sundays from now.
Holiday special.
Not the Star Wars holiday special, the Doctor Who holiday specials. But we do have Matty doing a watch along of the holiday special. We'll let you know when that happens. As soon as we know, you will know, as long as you join the Patreon. But if you can't join the Patreon, I totally understand that. Patreon.com/PLD Projects, Austin Goodell, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Alterman, the rest of the crew. Couldn't do this without you. Really helped me keep the lights on. But I understand if you can't. It's a trying times. Everything's a struggle at this point. But like I said, if you help us by sharing, let us know, let people know we're out here and have some fun with us like we have with you. But I guess that'll do it then for now. Next week, like I said, unless something big comes up, I think we'll start by watching the Bad Batch season 1, and we'll watch that first episode and break it down like we usually break down everything else in this show. Long and cozy. All right. Take care, guys. See you next time.
May the Force be with you. Always.